Oh, howdy do, folks. How is it going? Are we here? Are we present? Are we audible? Those are the priorities. Here, present, and audible. All All right, what's up, everybody? My shoulder, I just tweaked it, so I'm just gonna be dealing with that for a few minutes. What's up, Jade? Dark blue lights is better than light blue ones. Well, none of this is intended to be blue, to be clear. That light up there is trying to be like a white or silver because it's Christmas. This lighting is supposed to some extent, kind of like accentuate the Christmas vibes. Like, you know, gold and silver. So we got a little bit of yellowish gold, got a little bit of this blue, white, silver. I don't know. Like, I haven't figured it out yet exactly. It's working for now. I feel like it's accomplishing the goal. IDK, my BFF Jill. What's up to the YouTube chat? There's Kenzie, Speedy Shimeji, Patrick, hello. We're talking about headlights. Oh, yeah, the blue headlights are, like, frankly, they should be kind of illegal. Like, they're just, it's way too much. I'll definitely hop onto that and bandwagon. Like, it's way too much. You shouldn't be able to have headlights like that. Especially in a truck, you know? Like, the truck is, like, 10 feet tall, right? And it's like, beaming directly into your fucking retinas. Hello, Gayfesh. What's up? Hello. What's up, Golden Heart and Jihariel in the YouTube chat? Hello. Plugging in the Christmas lights tweaked my shoulder. What is that other chat? Thank you, Kenzie, for asking. My website, luxander.net/live, is where I host my own chat. It's where it goes, and it's where I read primarily. I have both of them. I like, look, here's my camera, okay? Right down here is YouTube chat, and right over here is my website chat. And so I'm able to see both, but this is the one that I give priority to because these are the cool folks. We got custom emojis, we got cool colors. You can directly support the show without YouTube taking 30% of your money. So, hey, that's a benefit. Cost-benefit analysis. Making police cars have purple lighting might psychologically shift the mood of them. Like, it even sounds more pleasing. Drought Dealer, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. I much appreciate you. Enjoy your dicks. Oh, someone, I need to look into it. Someone in the YouTube, or not the YouTube, Jesus Christ. Someone in the Discord chat recently posted, like, a cunts emoji. Because we have dicks, right? And people have been asking, Violet has been asking, can we get a cunts emoji? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how to go about commissioning someone to do that. I don't really know. I don't understand how the animation works when we're doing website emojis. You know, like, the fact that they do the thing that they're supposed to do is a complete mystery to me. Because I don't, like, for example, Neat, when Neat was sent to me, that one, as far as I know, the file type was PNG. And I'm like, why does it flash? I don't know. It just does not make any sense to me. I wouldn't recommend it. IRC YouTube treats that word for monetization the same as the N-word. There are animated PNGs. Oh, well, good to know. Okay. Well, I mean, it's like, it shows up on the screen, so I guess, yeah. I guess it would be flaggable if it shows up on the screen. Interesting. Oh, good to know. Well, it's on the Discord. I can add it to the Discord options at the very minimum. I think pussy would be a much better match for dicks. That's fair. Somebody made it. I didn't make it. I don't know. I guess if somebody's open to adjusting it, that would be cool, but neat. Anyway, so today we've got some fun planned. We've got like I've got 4 different topics kind of on my mind that I wanted to get to today. It seems like just about the right number for me in terms of having a certain number of segments at the end of stream. Excuse me. That's weird because of how British humor has how common, I'm assuming you mean how common British humor has become. Like the C word being more common. I wonder if it makes any difference if I tell YouTube that my channel is based in the US versus based in the UK, because I have it set like I'm in the US, obviously. I had to stop my Vosh pit talk about Cornhub to watch you, but I don't mind. Oh, you know what? It's fine. I'm sure Vosh will still be there later. I made cunts because I saw someone asked and it seemed fun to make. Hey, listen, I appreciate that the work went in. It does seem that YouTube is, you know, quite sensitive to certain things, which is understandable. I think that here's the thing that I think is a possibility. I don't know if they've talked about it at all, but I suspect that they are tweaking the back end stuff. Like, I think that they're tweaking the, like, detection stuff, the aspect of YouTube where they can, like, tell what your video is about and automatically flag it for monetization purposes, you know? Like, I think that it can tell that you are talking about trans people, right? And so if you don't go in and click the particular setting in the you can, like, self-report and say, here are the things in my video, and YouTube will be like, okay, I trust you, and I'll rate your video accordingly. So usually I just tell it, okay, I cussed in this video. Boom, done. Almost every video that's true. I flag that even for the ones where I'm pretty sure I don't cuss, just because I'm like, whatever. But if there's another section that says, like, hateful conduct, and the very first thing that you can mark under that setting is, like, talking about people of a type of group, but in a non-disparaging way, essentially. So I think that I just have to start clicking that every time I upload a video about, like, trans people or whatever, any of these issues that I'm talking about, because otherwise it notices that I have talked about a group and that I didn't specify whether I was talking about them in a positive or negative manner, I guess. So it's annoying a little bit because it took some trial and error, and I had several videos that were, like, caught up and I had to have manually reviewed, which is fucking annoying because usually I'm like, this is the video I plan to upload right now. Just need to, you know what? I just need to get ahead on my editing, which I am right now, a little bit ahead on my editing. So just maintain that and we'll be fine. But yeah, so I'm just gonna assume, and I'm gonna place my faith that it's just being more sensitive and making sure to block content that might not be kind to trans people. What's up? Welcome to the website. You don't have the little tag that says you're new here. That's quite interesting. Why are TERFs so anti-corn? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's, like, the whole second wave feminist thing. Like, so many of them are second wave type feminists. Obviously TERFism is, like, a totally separate thing, but it does have a lot in common. Jessie Gender got copyright claimed for a passion project she was working on for a year. I'm not that emotionally invested in what happens to Jessie Gender, but that's annoying. You know, it's tough. It's tough here on the U of Tube. When I get to that screen, I'm like, oh, so you want me to tell you that I want less money? And so I always mark it as, nope, this one's good for monetization. Well, if you mark those other things, it's not necessarily going to flag you for, like, if you say, I'm cursing in this video, but not, like, any intense curse words, and it's not within the first 30 seconds or whatever, that's still safe for ads. And when I go to the hateful conduct part, and I'm like, I click the button that says, yes, I'm talking about a protected or marginalized group of people, but in a non-hateful way, then that is also safe for ads, you know? And it's like, I think that it's the fact that I'm not reporting it, but they can tell that I'm talking about it anyway, that's why it keeps getting picked up. And I'll be like, okay, this is the same content I've always made. It's just another don't say gay bill. Like, this is just another don't say gay video. I've made numerous ones of these. Like, why is this one getting caught out and previous ones didn't? Even though I'm still reporting, like, yes, I curse in this video. You know, like, what the fuck is it? Yeah, like, so I'm just suspecting that that's the primary difference. Jessie Gender still has the video on Nebula. It probably is still on Nebula, I would imagine. Because Nebula is, like, a private streaming thing. Or I don't really know what their rules are as far as copyright claims are concerned. Because technically, she's still profiting off of it if it's hosted on Nebula. So they might also have some protocol but I don't know how that whole system works. Like, I know how YouTube does it. I don't know if the way that YouTube does it is the way that it legally needs to happen. But hey, there's almost 30 people in here. You should hit the like button really quick because we're chilling. And even if you don't want to hang out, you can click the like button and then leave. But we always kind of chill for a little bit, and then we'll start talking about our actual segments here in a little while. Probably close to when the hour starts to roll over. I don't know. It sort of depends. Yeah, Kitty Tick. So I posted a video of a previous discussion that we've had on stream about veganism and the ecosystem and like the, what is a good moderate way to consume food, use our resources, and not like damage the environment, right? Basically, like, because that's what it comes down to for me. I use that as a jumping off point to like talk about a broader issue, right? And so people in the comments on that, there's been this like one dude who Kitty Tick has just mentioned is like commenting on a lot of people's stuff, like being super responsive, which is great for the channel. And that's part of why I talk to those people. But it's like they're just, yeah, they don't seem like they're very good at having conversations. Like okay, here's the thing. I think it's only annoying vegans who talk about veganism. Like, I think for the most part, non-annoying vegans don't talk about it that much. So, shout out to the good vegans out there. There is such a thing as good and bad vegans. It's so funny to me how we lose people when we're talking about this. And it's like, it's just such an interesting conversation to me. And everybody hates it. Everybody hates it. Oh gosh. I've got my coffee and I've got my water. I basically usually cap out at 2 beverages, y'all. I know that that's like the ADHD thing is to have like 3, but I usually cap out at 2. And most of the time my water is not at my desk because usually I'm like, I can't be trusted not to knock shit over. Have you covered Aaron Friday yet? What is Aaron Friday? Is that on my list? I haven't covered any serious news yet, to be clear. Any hoozle. Yeah, like whatever the subject is, don't preach. But I think that it's kind of operates on the same mechanisms where, Christians create this in-group and they're like, hey, we want to basically create a system where folks go out and try to proselytize, they get rejected, and then they return to the church and they get all this hug boxing. And it's like a reinforcing cycle that, you just have to keep telling people, oh, go spread the word, and then they'll go do it. And I wonder if it's kind of a similar thing with vegans, where they're like not even trying to convince anybody. Like they don't think that it's actually going to be successful. They mostly are just getting some kind of reward feedback system for like feeling morally superior. You know what I mean? The video that Jessie made is still on Nebula. Nice. I've heard that she made a movie as well, or is making a movie. Don't know anything about it, but I did, I watched Philosophy Tube's most recent video, and she mentioned that Jessie Gender had a movie in progress. And that's about the extent of what I know about it. Wonderful. She is making one. John Delancey, who played Q in Star Trek, is in it. Oh, okay, cool. That's very neat. I like Q from Star Trek. I'm getting ready for Stoner Christmas, making cookies, but figured I'd drop a like at least. Well, thank you, Mickey. I hope that you have a great Christmas. Happy Christmas. I learned that the bassist in my band is vegan just because he got sick and I did groceries for him. Good vegan. Please high five him for me. Don't actually. Don't do that. Happy Christmas! Merry New Year. Okay, we're almost at a new year. Have you seen the post going around that says, it's like, I haven't seen anybody saying that 2024 is going to be their year. Like, yeah, I don't think anybody's really looking forward to it. It's going to be an election year. What's up, mama? Fashionably late. I was fashionably late today too, so no worries. Yeah, I don't think anybody's like, yay, new year, woohoo! You know, I'm moderately excited about the fact that there are more, like, holidays. You know? I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to the spring because then I get to do this. And, like, then this food will be in season and I'll be able to afford getting it or whatever. You know, I'm just screaming. Speaking of a movie, I heard something about Walsh and Shapiro, and so yeah, Jade, you've missed it. We did cover. It's a movie called Lady Ballers that the Daily Wire funded, and so here's the highlights. Okay, it's a movie about a has-been coach who works at a high school, and he decides to get a bunch of old friends together to play basketball, but they know that they're bad at it, so they sign up on women's leagues so that they can beat the women. I watched some of Lady Ballers with Alec Gunter. It was mostly just boring. Yeah, like I think that they probably included all of their funniest jokes in the trailer. And then later it turned out that Ben Shapiro, initially they wanted this to be a documentary, but when they tried to get these, like they called around to see if they could get any other guys on these teams, and they were like, no, you would need to be on hormones. And then they were like, hey, guys, would you be willing to take the hormones? And they were like, no. So, isn't that fun? We should interview the folks who will be crowding the gyms in January. Clearly, they have some optimism for the year. Oh, no, mama. No, come on. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Oh, I go to the gym, like, several times a week, and it's been relatively, like, less busy recently, and I was like, oh, it's wintertime, I guess it probably slows down around this time of year. That makes perfect sense because it's cold and people don't want to get up and go out and go to the gym. That makes perfect sense. But then, yeah, in January it's gonna suck balls. No. Oh, I might have to rotate out and start doing calisthenics in January. I might just, yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'll just do calisthenics. Exactly. Yeah, I'll do body weight exercises. I already have a program that I could follow for that. It's not, like, even going to be a problem. I'll do more yoga, like, but yeah, it's good to rotate anyway on your shit that you're doing in the gym. So, yeah, I guess I get to do it for another couple of weeks on my, I guess you could call it like a bulk, but not really. And then, yeah, I'll switch to stamina exercises instead of bulking exercises. Winter's hard. Winter's weird. What's up, Jira? Mackenzie does calisthenics at home. Right, yeah, it's, treadmill at home is great because I have a standing desk. I can't do treadmill. It fucks up my hip. Like, when I'm walking on the treadmill, one of my hips, like, it doesn't quite hurt, but it's like a really uncomfortable grinding sensation. And it doesn't happen when I walk, but it happens when I walk on the treadmill. And it's just really obnoxious. Today I'm leaving for Las Vegas at 4:20 p.m. Yeah, nice. Did you see Shu? No, I didn't see Shu getting absolutely roasted by Richard Spencer, of all people. Oh my goodness. Gayfesh has tweeted screenshots. So Shu tweeted, playing with that AI GF app, girlfriend app, told her I was a schizo-racist Nazi, and she said, tell me more, ooh face. We said, nice try, Fed. Then she started JQ posting, ? And then Richard Spencer says, Shu, let's be honest, you are basically an AI Nazi girlfriend for your followers. Kind of looking into the mirror with this one, aren't you? Oh my god. No. Oh my god, that's too funny. That's basically true. Yeah, The worst person you know is correct. I love how this guy, you can just post a picture of this guy and you know that it is referencing this. Yeah, it's Onion or Clickhole article. Like, the worst person you know has made a good point. That's far too funny. You need to take your flesh off and put some WD-40 in the ball and socket joints. Ah, well, you see, WD-40 is not a lubricant, it's a cleaner. So that would not help. A person I dislike getting roasted by a person I dislike even more. Yeah, it's like nothing about this is good, but it is funny. So I can't pretend otherwise. I'm just gonna sip my coffee. Good grief. Anyway, thank you for sharing, Gayfesh. That was incredible. So so the things that I have teed up for today are, we're gonna talk about Riley Gaines, like, outing a trans teenager and the subsequent fallout that has happened because of that. Like, I don't actually know how old the high school person is in this situation, but she is, like, on her way towards college, so she's, like, 17 or 18, somewhere around there. And let's see, what else do we have today? I had water before my caffeine today. So proud of you. Good job. You had water before caffeine. I think I did today too. Yeah, I haven't been as gung-ho about having coffee first thing in the morning recently because it does upset my tummy. Get me a PS3 for Christmas. Listen, I would love to be able to afford an item equivalent to a PS3 for Christmas. Yeah, what else do I have in my notes for today? I have other stuff. Let's see. We're also gonna do... Oh yeah, trans women having an advantage at yet another sport that's really barely a sport. Like, it's barely a physical activity. Always classy on the TERF's part. We've got the Twitch boobies, obviously, Twitch boobies. And, oh, we're gonna react to an excellent video talking about the Democrats and their election strategy. Isn't that gonna be fun? It actually is gonna be pretty amusing. I enjoyed the full 10-minute video. Oh, okay, well. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, that reminds me of my favorite version of this. My favorite version of this meme. Let's see if I can find it. Yes, this is the one. Open image in new tab. Thank you. Yeah, this is the best one. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Get it? Not great. Loving that. More like demon rats, am I right? True. Anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody. Oh, gosh. 37 people in here. 36. Consider hitting the like button, even if you don't want to just hang out. This is how my stream goes. We always chill for the first hour, and then we'll get to talk about the news later. Listen, we have like 3 or 4 hours to spend talking about whatever, between 3 to 5 hours. So I can't spend the entire time talking about the serious news. It's just not realistic. You gotta be realistic with your expectations. Does anybody follow Claire Max on Twitter? I am not going to show the actual picture that I want to show you guys, but I will show you a different one from the same set, okay? So Claire Max is like a super buff lady on... You mean IRL Carlac? Probably. So she's doing a Captain... What is she called? Is she just called Captain Carter? She's doing a Captain Carter cosplay, and some of the photos from the set are like in lingerie, which is pretty great, I guess. Like, I mean, she does like good shit anyway. And then the photography itself is really good because she is doing this with an actual photographer instead of just in her like bathroom mirror. So, but it's pretty good. She is like inspo. I don't want to be anywhere near as big as she is, but yeah, she's really impressive. I mean, I have that much meat, but my meat ain't like that, right? Captain Carter, yes, right? I didn't even know that Captain Carter was a thing until this most recent, it was, what the fuck was it called? Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? Was that the one? I would like to have her physique, TBH. Yeah, I don't think that I want to be as big as she is, but I do like how, like, defined her musculature is, if that makes sense. Muscle mommy, true. I'm probably like several years away from that. Right. You know, and she is, I think, a personal trainer for a living. So she does this like a lot, and she probably has a diet that's really high in protein and things. So, you know, being able to afford going to the gym and spending that much time in the gym and being able to afford like to eat as much as it requires to get as big as she is. I've decided to start tall maxing and lean into the dummiest possible body I can have. The annual, like, which fetishes were most searched by state map came out recently, and I think giantess was being searched in several different states. So you've got something to capitalize on there. I wanted to look up how to thirst trap as a guy, but all the videos were making fun of guys doing thirst traps. Yeah, I guess you just have to follow some gay guys on Instagram and learn. Like, for example, I would recommend following MikeMGTV. I don't know what his Instagram handle actually is. Let me find it. I'm finding him for you. Hold on. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to show his Insta on... Okay. Okay, none of this is horrendous. Okay. So, MikeMGTV, he's, like, queer, and posts... He's, like, a model, I guess. He posts thirst traps, and he's really unashamed about it. So I would say start there to find, like, inspo for man thirst traps without, you know, all of the judgment and weirdness. And then, like, maybe from there you'll be able to find other absolutely disastrous queer men like this guy. Not sure what methodology that chart was using, TBH. Oklahoma's biggest fetish was sex dick. True. That's a hell of a fetish. I just had a coworker tell me that I might get misgendered less if I change my name. I'm 33, 2 years on T, and I don't really have a desire to change my name, at least right now. What do I say to that? Yeah, I mean, I don't really think it's gonna make that big of a difference. I mean, is your name, like, super duper feminine? Mackenzie is a name beyond gender. Oh, okay, Mackenzie is the actual name, perhaps. I feel like I associate Mackenzie with being a girl's name. So I guess I can kind of see the point that they were trying to make. But I don't know if that's historically accurate. Like, I know a cis woman named Michael because Michael used to be the cis name. And Michael then became the cis girl name. And then Michael became the boy name. So, you know, those things can kind of shift over time. I know men and women and NBs all as Mackenzies. Yeah, BRB, changing my name to Eagleman Mansley Megatron the Third. Yeah, my name is Dick Hardington. That's my new name. Conservatives have been promoting this transphobic website called Redux Magazine. Redux Magazine? Mac and Cheese is a cute nickname. I now declare myself Pikachu. I don't know. You can try a different name and see if it makes a difference. Like, I have no idea. Like, truthfully, I do associate Mackenzie as being a girl's name. I've only ever known girls that are called Kenzie. So, IDK. But I've also, like, I've met men, cis men ostensibly, who have feminine names that I've thought of previously as being only female names. So, I started calling myself a nickname short for my actual name, and no one batted an eye. Yeah, like, I guess you could go by Mac if the name is Mackenzie, and then if you want people to perceive you more masculinely, because the name does make a difference. But it's, like, all up to whether you want to or not. I'm still having a crisis of whether I want to change my name, so, you know? Oh my god, my eyeball is so itchy. My name is Jade, and people have tried to tell me to change it, and I refuse, but I don't get misgendered because of it. I would associate Jade as also being a feminine name, but if you're not getting misgendered, then who the fuck cares? Like, whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, like, I've only met feminine people named Jade, right? If you go by Mac, people will assume your full name is Ronald McDonald. I guess I'm a failure as a human being because I would not have thought that. I would not have thought that. Oh my god. I only get misgendered by people who knew me before, never by strangers. Okay, well then it just sounds like... Well, I mean, strangers don't know your name, first of all. But second of all, I do think that people who know you and are having a hard time adjusting to your new pronouns are gonna come up with any excuse. So they're gonna, like, say whatever they need to say in order to justify the fact that it's hard for them to change, you know? And they're always gonna find some way to blame it on you, right? So, frankly, I would just be like, my name is not the problem. Like, and I am not going to change it because I don't want to. You need to work on whatever it is in your mind that is making it hard for you to get my pronouns right. Everybody new in my life gets them right. So obviously I look like a man, so I don't know why you're calling me by the wrong pronouns, you know? Like, that's what I would recommend. Like, what is wrong with you that you look at me and you see this man standing here and you call me a woman? Like, what is wrong with you? That sounds like a you problem. It is not for me to change myself. Like, I guess that's how I would respond. From It's Always Sunny, Mac's full name is actually Ronald McDonald. I somehow forgot that. I buried it. I buried it under all of the other things that I know. I may have had something else on my Twitter that I wanted to share. But we'll see. We'll see. Drink water, babes. Drink water. I need to order one of my own mugs so that when I drink shit on the stream, I can be like, wouldn't it be... I think it would be funny, too, if I had one mug of my own mug for coffee and, like, my own mug for water, and then I just, like, alternate between them. That would be very funny. Maybe I need to design another mug so that I have more than one on the website. Anyway. Do shots out of that mug, call that a mug shot? Nope. That would be funny, though. My partner does have a tiny little clay shot glass that's in the shape of a mug, and it has a little tiny handle, and it's really cute. And it is, like, it's exactly the right size to be a shot glass. It's amazing. Oh, it's Christmas time. 12:45. I'm named after my mom's gay male best friend from the Navy, who was named Jade. Okay. See, it's just my limited life experience. I've just never met a man named Jade. That's on me. I wonder if, to some extent, there has been a cultural shift away from gender-neutral names. Like, I don't know if this is the case. I'm just curious And I wonder if it's been looked into at all. Like the idea that because, you know, society is getting increasingly, it's doing this like backlash thing, right? It's like pretty binary in a way that it did not really used to be. And this includes places like the Middle East. Like they're more regressive now than they were 50, 60 years ago in terms of like making women like dress conservatively and, you know, just all those kind of anti-woman sentiments, frankly. And so I wonder if to some extent that increasing binary schism polarization has resulted in there being fewer and fewer gender neutrally used names. Like maybe Jade used to be more commonly gender neutral. Like I've met a cis woman named Kyle. That was the first person I ever knew who was named Kyle was a cis woman, and I didn't even know until way later that that was a boy's name. So, you know, and like example, Michael used to be a girl's name, now it's almost entirely a boy's name. Jane, the man they call Jane True. Oh, I don't want to weigh in about the mustard in the sink. I think it's boomers having a last lash out against the youth before they are irrelevant. Yeah, but I'm saying that, like, there was, at one time, like, a loosening and, like, you know, plenty of gender-neutral names and stuff. It's like, when was the last time you met someone young named Terry? I don't really see anyone young named Terry, and that's, like, the first gender-neutral name that comes to mind. As someone who isn't a native speaker of English, I sometimes struggle to guess the gender of Americans based on their first name. Especially Jesse versus Jesse always trips me up. I mean, Jesse is, yeah, a gender-neutral name. I know people named Terry. Again, I think it's American thing. Maybe. Yeah. Like, and a lot of my observations are going to be referencing America. But yeah, like, to be fair, there isn't like a clear distinction between masculine and feminine names like there is in other languages. You know, there might be some, like Paul and Paula, masculine and feminine. Like any, like names that end in A are often feminine names. But more broadly speaking, I don't think that we have as many norms in that regard. Or Pauline, true. And yeah, I'm also referring to names that were given to you by your parents and not names that you have given yourself. Like, obviously, because there are a lot of gender neutral people in the world right now, gender non-binary, like all kinds of different shit, they're going to be naming themselves gender neutral names sometimes, but that's not the point that I'm trying to make. I was talking about like parental, like the idea of like what culture is doing as far as people naming their children, you know? Kim is gender neutral in German. That's neat. Kim, I think, is also like gender neutral in like Asian countries. Not totally sure. Ashley also, yeah, Ashley is well, at least used to be a boy's name because you've got Ash from Evil Dead. And Ash, I think, is still treated like a neutral / somewhat masculine name, but Ashley is still very feminine coded. Jordan is neutral. Yeah, Jordan, I've known male and female Jordans. Even more recently. Any hoozle. Logan? I've never heard of a girl being called Logan. I didn't know that that was a gender neutral name. Ryan? Ryan isn't gender neutral. No way. I actually had a gender neutral name and changed it anyway. You know, sometimes it doesn't matter how neutral it is. You still want to change it. I know a girl that's Logan, and Ryan is definitely gender neutral. I have a girl cousin named Ryan with 2 N's. Fascinating. Anyway, riveting discussion about names. Why don't we consider shifting gears into one of our main topics? Hit the like button if you're ready to talk about one of our main topics. There's a male character in Gone with the Wind named Ashley. Yeah, like it used to be more... I don't know if it was a boy's name primarily or if it was like both, but it has definitely shifted now and it's pretty much only girls. Morgan is deaf gender neutral. Yeah, you've got Morgan Freeman. Most Morgans that I can think of are female, but like obviously you've got Morgan Freeman. There's a transphobic senator named Lindsay. True. Twitch boobers? Is it Twitch boobers time? It can be. Do you want it to be? Do we want to cover the title issue this early in the show? I really hate whatever is wrong with my camera that's making it reset all of its settings every time, but it's very frustrating, and I feel like I look so pasty. At least on my one monitor. Like, on this monitor, I don't look too bad. But if I put me back on the other monitor, I'm gonna be like, wow, why do I look like a corpse? Yay. 42 viewers. That's the meaning of life, y'all. Hit the like button. More likes, please. Surely we can get to 50 today. For Christmas, if you don't have $5, which is totally fine, drop me a like, okay? Thank you. I need to grow my Twitch boobers or more, or get a Twitch augmentation. Artistic boobies. What's up, Mills? Welcome into the YouTube chat. Angel is another gender-neutral name. I've never considered... I guess... Is the character called Angel in the TV show Angel? Maybe a yellower light could help. It's the white balance. Like, here's my other option, okay? So this is the bluer of the lights, right? It's even more blue, okay? Here's the yellow one. Way too yellow, okay? So here's my regular one. Which is a little bit more balanced, but it's so fucking annoying. But it's like the fact that it won't stay the same that I take issue with, you know? I keep being like, please save this. And it's like, no, I don't want to. And I just have to go, okay, yeah, don't worry about it. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit more human looking. Amazing. Save? Nope. Won't save. Alright. Well, I'll just have to remember what the numbers say for next time. Gabriel being played by Tilda Swinton was such a great choice. I agree. I remember, like, really not being able to tell whether Tilda Swinton was male or female. Like, I was very young. I'm assuming that you're talking about Constantine, the movie with Keanu Reeves. Yes, also IARC Tilda is non-binary. Still uses she, her pronouns, I'm pretty sure. But, yeah, like, I genuinely could not tell that Tilda was, like, female born. Like, I had no idea. I was genuinely, like, fascinated with her in that role. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if she would describe herself explicitly as non-binary or more just like... Let me see if I can find something. Let's see. Article from 2021. Tilda Swinton, quote, always felt she was queer, rejects gender boundaries. She refers to gender as a, quote, transformative possibility. I don't know if I could ever really say that I was a girl, she says. I was kind of a boy for a long time. I don't know. Who knows? It changes. So, gender fluid monarch. The whole idea of transformation is at the heart of what I'm interested in as a performer, and not least through the idea of gender. My idea of identity is that I'm not sure it really exists. Honestly, this just sounds like autistic, non-binary person vibes. That's what that sounds like to me. Like, I'm just whatever, and I don't care what you call it, is kind of what the vibes are. So, NB, queen, king, liege, monarch. Just cycle through all the words. A maddening cycle through every possible configuration. My gender is playing games and winning. That sounds like your gender is gamer. Gamers rise up. What's a good source to read about the boobies? Twitch boobies. Have they rolled it back? Yeah, that's the immediate first article I see, is that they've rolled it back. I think it's because people are cheeky assholes. It's, like, impossible to find an original article about the original thing. Like, I just wanted, like, an article about, that initial, like, that lady who was going around everywhere, that, like, the one who was wearing the tube top right underneath the screen, but it looked like she was topless, except that you could only see her from here up, you know? She was the one who was going around associated with that. But then it turns out that they rolled it back anyway. The thing about streaming only twice a week is that I have to catch up on things like this. Like, Twitch rolled back its policy regarding, like, not allowing nudity on the website. They basically issued new guidance saying, yeah, you can have artistic nudity. And I was like, okay, I'm so ready to talk about this. I'm so ready. It's going to be so interesting to see what happens after this. But I didn't stream until today. So what has happened in the time since is Twitch has immediately changed their mind about the nudity policy. They're no longer allowing artistic nudity because the platform has been spanned with sexually explicit drawings. And I actually saw one artist posting, like, hey, we're gonna start drawing some crazy big titty shit as soon as this policy is, you know, ready to go. And like, I just think that that's the platform, like, the audience itself being kind of garbage. Because I feel like you should know that artistic nudity does not mean, like, any drawn nudity. Like, it doesn't mean any artistically created nudity. Technically, any photo that you take, because sometimes photos can be artistic, is an artistic endeavor. Like, any photo that you take. So a selfie you take in the mirror could technically be like, oh, that's artistic nudity. Yeah, exactly. Artistic nudity instantly devolving into furry smut. This is a totally different thing. So, yeah, I honestly don't even think that the policy needs to change. I think that they just had to deal with an influx of moderation needing to occur because people are still breaking the policy. The policy itself was artistic nudity. And people decided to be funny and try to rules lawyer it and say, well, I drew it, therefore it's artistic. Like, no, that is not the case, actually. Okay, but furry smut is pretty artistic. They care about their smut a lot. Listen, it depends. It depends. Okay, hold on. I have to adjust something real fast. I have to adjust part of my set. Okay. Just had to fix some of my soundproofing shit. Okay. Yes, thank you, Mark, for hitting like on the YouTube video and then joining us on my website. Hello! I think Americans need to get over nudity sensitivity in general. Americans allow some seriously vicious amounts of violence, but see a, quote, female-presenting nipple being adjusted in a bra, and they flip the fuck out. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna say that we have, like, good boundaries around nudity. Honestly, I think that we are in one of the most sex-regressive societies in general right now, and it's awful. Like, it's so difficult to exist as a sex worker online. Like, you're being relegated to more and more and more niche parts of the internet, making it hard to make a living, you know. Obviously, sex work in public is limited. Like, you're, like, not allowed to do in-person sex work to the same degree. You know, you can do stuff online all day long. But yeah, I mean, culturally, we do have a tendency to go too hard on the anti-nudity stuff. And I don't know what the solution to that is, because who's driving that change? Right, is it mostly, like, old white men who own the companies that don't want to, like, the credit card companies that don't want to process sex workers' payments? Like, is it those people? And gradually, as they die and, like, stop being in charge of stuff, then things will change? Like, I don't know how to societally move past the idea. And this happens all the time. Like, I don't have the article pulled up right this second, but there was recently, I think it was either a teacher or a student. Actually, I think it was a student. Gayfesh, did you share this in the group chat? A student was, like, kicked out of their college because they were doing sex work. And it's like, you know, we hear about teachers being kicked out of their jobs because they've been doing sex work to make ends meet. But, you know, even a student at a college that you're paying fucking tuition to because you are using sex work to make the money in order to pay your tuition, they're like, no. And again, a lot of the time, sex work in these contexts doesn't mean full service in-person sex work. It often means you just have an OnlyFans page. Portable nut. It's like a nut you can play with outside. Yeah, ads can be very smutty compared to anything that you'll find on Twitch. They're good at finding ways to toe the line, right? When they opened up artistic nudity, Kitty was planning on maybe buying some stuff to start a life drawing model live stream. Could increase accessibility for rural artists that don't have local community colleges. 1 hour with a model can cost between $25 to $30 minimum. So I was thinking about helping artists and saying, hey, I could make a living. And it would also be boring to people trying to masturbate because the poses are not intended to be sexy. They are intended to show movement. And then Twitch is like, no. Yeah, I wonder, like, again, I don't even know why they changed the policy, because these people were not following the policy as it was stated. You could continue to say artistic nudity is allowed and non-artistic nudity is not allowed, and then just have, like, someone monitoring, like, doing, like, having discretion about what kinds of nudity can be artistic versus not. But then again, that, like, gets into a whole question about what defines what artistic nudity means. Because I guess ultimately, you know, if that's going to be the crux term, if nudity is allowed only if it is artistic, then what is meant by artistic nudity? Obviously, we don't mean hardcore porn that happens to be drawn by someone. As a pre-op trans person, I create different challenges for the artist. That's true. Atypical body types. If advertisers are okay with it, then it's artistic. True. That's what it all comes down to. autistic nudity. Do you guys remember that one time when Philosophy Tube said artistic in her video, but it like auto detected her as saying autistic because she's like autistic is how she says artistic in her accent. Haha. Funny stuff. Let's see. I want to see if there's anything else in this article. This is so stupid and annoying. This is the most dumb response they could possibly have, actually. Hold on. Okay, they're saying, moving forward, and this is from a guy who works at Twitch. CEO Dan Clancy says, moving forward, depictions of real or fictional nudity won't be allowed on Twitch regardless of the medium. This restriction does not apply to mature-rated games. While I wish we could have predicted this outcome, part of our job is to make adjustments that serve the community. So it's just like, regardless of the medium, again, I think that they're focusing on the wrong part of this. The platform's art section was quickly filled with pornographic drawings and animation, including fetish art and sexually explicit imagery of what appeared to be young girls. Right, like, that... It, like, the medium has nothing to do with it. Like, the medium had nothing to do with it. It's that a bunch of people misinterpreted your terms and decided to break the terms. The problem was never the medium or the policy definitions. Like, that's not what the issue was. They didn't go far enough, true. You gotta be either Walmart, where you casually sell vibrators like any other product, or you ban them altogether. I guess. I'm reading a little bit more. Let me see if there's anything else in here. This is talking about that lady, Morgpie? Morgpie? I don't know how to pronounce her name. Yeah, we made a really vague policy and some people took advantage. Therefore, the intention of the policy was wrong. Like, therefore, nobody gets to do anything now. The problem is exactly that they didn't bother with any actual moderation or a well-defined policy. It's almost, oh god, yeah, and it's almost inevitable considering that, like, a lot of the core group of users on Twitch are, like, outrage marketing folks. They're like, what can I do or say that's gonna get me the most attention without technically breaking TOS? Anyway, that's obnoxious. We gotta change the stream title. There we go. Change the stream title. Twitch not allowing artistic boobies after all. Sag. Sag, can we get some Sag in chat? I need to feel like there's commiseration, okay? Like, I'm so Sag, and what I need right now is for you to just sit and like be Sag with me, okay? Oh my goodness. Only male presenting nips allowed. I actually don't even know. Like, I would hope, and it would amuse me deeply if they were being like, no, actually, nobody's nipples are allowed. Like, if you're a man, you also can't be shirtless on Twitch. Like, I don't know how else you can be consistent about that. But then again, as this article points out, Twitch is notorious for having rules that only apply to their female streamers, like their female partners or whatever. And then there's the problem of enforcement as well, as Violet points out. Like, even if they do have a policy against anybody being shirtless, then it still is inevitably going to be that women are the ones who are getting reported for that. And that they're going to be the ones who the moderators actually flag as nudity. It's funny because men being shirtless used to be illegal at some point in US history. Modesty. We gotta stay modest, okay? We have to be modest. Coffee. Coffee is delicious. Bring back heels for men. Oh my god. I wish that I ever went anywhere, because I got some really amazing heels recently. I actually got 2 incredible pairs of shoes. One of them is like a 3-inch heel and the other one's like a 4-inch heel. And I just wish that I ever did anything that like that that would allow me to show off those shoes. I guess I should start taking fucking pictures for my Fansly again, and then that'll give me an excuse to wear like extremely slutty shoes for no reason. Imagine if we just figured out that nipples are a normal part of life and it's not a big deal to have titties. Crazy. Stomp on me, dumami? Yeah, I mean, basically. Drink more coffee. I got my decaf. That's how I stay alive. Yeah, of course, puritanical Christianity informs like a huge amount of US policy, way too much US policy, despite our alleged separation of church and state. Like, I said it before recently, and I'll say it again, I don't understand why someone who is a literal pastor is allowed to run for public office. Like, I don't know why someone who outright states that their faith informs how they're going to vote, like, I don't know how you can let that person be in office, because they're explicitly saying that by putting them in office, you are fudging the separation of church and state. It's like, I am going to make decisions based on my religion for the country. Like, that is breaking the separation of church and state. I don't know why those people are allowed to have a job. If I can be slutty for a sec, I do have some Step On Me Mommy pictures on my OnlyFans. Go to Mama's OnlyFans if you want to see Step On Me, Dommy Mommy pictures. We support sex workers here, okay? Oh my god. That's just about everything on that, I think. Separation of church and state, except for the state-backed religion. I mean, yeah, what it ends up being is religious supremacy. It's like Christian supremacy specifically. We have a Christian government. We have a Christian country because they keep forcing their Christian beliefs on people despite the alleged separation of church and state. It's just obnoxious. It's a heckarino obnoxious. I did see that, the Satanic Temple thing. I should cover that probably as like part of the show today, huh? In some places, states and cities are literally in power based on religious affiliation of the people being elected. Yeah, and I think that, you know, they've gotten struck down at this point, but there have been laws in the United States in various, you know, areas and municipalities that are saying that you can't run for office if you're an atheist. And plenty of people say that they don't trust atheists and they wouldn't vote for one anyway. Yeah, the Satanic Temple, because they gave him like the least they gave him like the least charge that they could, didn't they? When they charged the guy for destroying the statue. I'm finding an article about it. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm so burpy. I'm just getting some stuff figured out, guys. We're gonna talk about it. The funniest part is the Christmas tree was a pagan Norse tradition co-opted by Christians. Hi, so burpy. I'm Mama. Mama with the dad jokes. All the time with the dad jokes. Okay? What more exciting thing can we change the stream title to? Which of my other stories is going to make a better title today? There, we'll change it to that. We'll see how that plays. Satan rises in Iowa. True. Don't even get me started about the history of Saturnalia and how Christmas was directly an attempt to depopularize large queer sex orgies. Orgies? Wow. I mean, Christmas was originally like a debauchery thing just like Saturnalia. Like, Christmas was illegal in the United States, wasn't it, initially? Because it was also drunken, like, queer sex orgies debauchery? I thought it was, anyhow. But I haven't looked into it, so... Corgis, true. Porgies, even more true. There's not a picture of it before it got taken down, I don't think. I would like to see a picture of what it looked like before. Okay, I think he knocked it all over, but this is like one of the things that it started with. Okay. What I remember most from reading Brave New World in high school is Orgy Porgy. Orgy Porgy? I haven't read Brave New World in forever. Is that on? I think it's on my bookshelf. I didn't even know Iowa existed until I was like 17. How? You went to public school. Did you not have to fill out the map in public school? Like, how? Like, geography is a thing that they teach. Surprising. I simply forgot about all the middle states. Okay, I guess that you were like, I don't need to know those. Your brain was like, I don't need to think about that. I don't need to know what that is. All right, cool. We occasionally talk about religious news, little religious news, and, you know, in particular when it correlates with the politics. We got the politics and the religion together in one story. It's been increasingly, over the last, let's say, 10 years or so, one of the things that atheists do, and not just atheists, like, I guess you would consider Satanists to be different from atheists, although I think that a lot of Satanists are secular in their beliefs. But if you're going to have the 10 Commandments in the State House, okay, it's apparently a losing battle to try to get those removed. So instead of trying to get those removed, the Christian iconography removed from our state houses to enshrine the separation of church and state, what we have been doing instead, by we, I mean like atheists, Satanists, pagans, others who have non-traditional religions, basically people who don't belong to one of the big two, because you'll sometimes see Jewish iconography, like a Hanukkah display during the holiday seasons, but in particular, the Satanic Temple and certain atheist groups have been like, we want to put up a statue of Mephistopheles or whatever, like in the State House, because you have a religious thing with the Christians, and you can't change the policy based on which religion it is. If you're going to be refusing to establish a law about religion, or whatever the exact wording of the rule is, then yeah, you have to allow Satanism and the atheist organizations and the pagans. You have to let all these other people in. So we do have this happening increasingly, and there's backlash usually. So here's one. In Iowa, Satanic Temple display vandalized. I believe that this is basically before it's been vandalized. I don't think anything has been trashed here, but this is the guy. I think this is the guy who did it, or at least at the very minimum, he's a protester. He's sitting in front of this display and praying. We have a statue of, I think, Baphomet, because, it's a goat head, horns, wearing a little shroud, has a little upside down cross, not an upside down cross, Jesus, an upside down pentacle, a pentagram thing, Satanist style, Satanic Temple, fake candles. It's a whole deal, okay? Gorgeous, right? And it's been vandalized because Christians can't handle other religions being present in public spaces, apparently. They don't have any respect for anybody else's religious beliefs. And we know this, but it's interesting to see it play out in this manner. IRL Baphomet is so much more interesting than D&D Baphomet. I don't know anything about it either way. It's usually Baphomet that the Satanists put up. It's not actually anything to do with Satan. That was just Catholic propaganda. Baphomet is a non-binary icon representing balance. Right, which is why it often is represented as having breasts and a penis, I'm pretty sure. It's represented in a non-binary way. If I remember correctly, some Satanist sects have been originated as a way to promote secular humanism while still having the protection that religions have. Yeah, because people will say secular humanism is not the same as a protected religious belief. One femme and one masculine arm usually on Baphomet. Interesting. Fascinating. Oh my god, stop. He's a former Mississippi House candidate, by the way. The guy who has been charged for destroying the display at the Iowa Capitol. A former U.S. Navy fighter pilot who was recently defeated in a state house election, according to the AP. Of course, this is in Mississippi. Of course, yeah, the display is permitted by rules that govern religious installations inside the Capitol, but it drew criticism from many conservatives, including Ron DeSantis. A Facebook posting by the Satanic Temple on Thursday said that the display, known as a Baphomet statue, quote, was destroyed beyond repair, although part of it does remain. This guy's name is Michael Cassidy. And, okay, so he's been charged with 4th-degree criminal mischief. But that's not he wasn't charged with destruction of property, even though that was private property. It does seem like 4th-degree criminal mischief is probably the least charge that you could have gotten. He was released after his arrest. Apparently, Cassidy is a Republican who was defeated by Democrat Keith Jackson in Mississippi State House District 45. Hey, listen, I'm shout out to whoever lives in Mississippi and voted in a Democrat in that district, because boy howdy, are they going to do better for you. Dropped my hair tie. Honestly, it should be charged as a hate crime because it's religious discrimination. Right, that, honestly, it was a religiously motivated assault on a religious icon. And it was private property. It was destruction of property on the basis of religious intolerance. If religion is a protected class, which it is, then that is a really good point. I don't know why this wouldn't be treated... I mean, of course I know why. It's because, again, of Christian supremacy in this country. But, it's easy to point out the hypocrisy of, if it was a mosque at death would have been a hate crime. Right, if someone deliberately destroyed the menorah at the Hanukkah display at the Iowa State House, would that not be obviously a hate crime? Like, people would be decrying it as anti-Semitism for the next 4 years. Like, excuse me. I've seen some Jewish communities pushing for our actual major holidays to be recognized rather than just Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a very minor holiday, but is the most famous as it's near Christmas. I mean, it's not like Hanukkah is really recognized legally anyway. Like, you know, you guys don't get any of your holidays off unless you request the time off. And then you're going to have a paid holiday on Christmas anyway, so you're just losing your other vacation time if you take vacation days for your own holidays. Anyway, let's see what else is in here. This guy Cassidy describes himself as, quote, a Christian conservative who loves our nation and is committed to preserving the blessings of liberty bestowed upon us by the founding generation. Man. Best part of being an atheist is I can have a holiday anytime I want. Most of mine are immediately after the major holidays, so I get discount food. This is my thing as a pagan. I don't want to just invent holidays because that's too much work, but I am just following pagan holidays, so all of this shit is intended to celebrate Yule. It happens to look Christmassy because Christmas took all of the Yule iconography. But I think it's important to have, and I think it's important to have holidays beyond just the ones that we think of in the winter. I think that we would probably be happier year-round if we made a deliberate attempt to bring some seasonality into our lives. You know? Thankfully, in Canada, I legally can take our major holidays off, but it's awkward to try usually. For Americans, though, I do not understand why people cannot just have their personal holidays off. Because, fuck you, that's why. Oh gosh. I'm gonna be so hungry at the end of this stream. I didn't mention Christmas in my holiday nudes until I could make a pun, Christmas, and that's the only one I will. Previously during Christmas, I've like changed my Twitter username to Luxanta. Luxanta? Haha. That's cute, isn't it? I didn't do it this year. I have a Santa hat. It's a blue Santa hat, and it has, like, Star Wars shit on it. I think I just found it somewhere and decided to start wearing it at some point. Another perk of the atheism is extra easy overtime, so I can take days off whenever I feel like. You know, if you're able to work on the holiday anyway, because some places won't let you. It's so fucking annoying. Some places, like, literally will not let you work on the holiday. I mean, and then if you work a really, really trash job, then everybody's required to work on the holiday. Like, maybe they'll give you only a half shift, and you're supposed to be grateful for that. This holiday, I'm going to be getting paid to cat sit for a friend who's going home for the holidays. That's a sweet gig. That sounds amazing. I get to sit around, pet cats, and watch anime and cartoons on a huge TV, and be paid for it. See? It's incredible. Oh man, today's stream is not the most poppinest of streams. Not the most poppinest. It happens sometimes. Oh yeah, I want to change something. I want to change this text that says this. There, now when I'm in this screen, it'll say luxander.net/live. I'm working on Christmas presents, sewing away like a little elf. Nice. I need to get my sewing machine serviced because it's not working properly. I was busy packing. I didn't have time to bargain with the other archdevils. Archdevils to get you viewers. Well, you're fired then. Labor Day is kind of a big thing for Michigan, but since I can't go over the bridge quickly, I choose to work it every year now. Every Labor Day I have Renaissance Festival. So that's what I do at that time of year. No! Yamero! I know what Yamero means because it's an emoji on this website. That's all I know. It means stop! Oh my gosh. Can I get fired too? Out of a cannon? Okay, Satanic Temple. I don't think I have anything else to add about the Satanic Temple. Vandalized Satanic Temple. Oh, there's a horrendous beeping sound. Oh, I don't know what that is. Oh, I might have to figure out what that is real quick. Why? Hold on. Sorry about that, y'all. Had a little equipment thing happen over there. Some beeping equipment that I had to go turn off. So, don't worry about it. Arrête sounds like arrest. You're talking about the French word arrêter? So yeah, because arrest does mean stop. Have you ever considered the term cardiac arrest? It means heart stop. Yeah, my phone was done charging. That's what it was. Of course. Okay, I just gotta share before we move on to the next topic. We have 3 more topics to talk about, and we have like at least 2 more hours of stream. So, unless I feel like Garbo, like frankly, it's a little bit like, it's like, okay, I'm here to stream, I'm here for donations, I'm here to make content. And if I go for like 3 hours and I've only gotten like 1 donation, I'm like, okay, well, clearly I'm not gonna make any money today. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm having, like, I'm having fun, but I'm also fucking tired, and I have, like, editing that I could be doing. I'm, like, literally making more money editing right now. I can confirm, Mama, you are very funny. You have regularly made me laugh. Same with Lux. Thank you. I need people to know that I'm funny way more than I need them to know that I'm smart. That's a fact. That's a bona fide fact. So now we have girl loses scholarship, T-girls win at croquet, and Democrats determined to lose. We do have a 10-minute video to react to, so that's going to be lovely. Any hoozle. Tea and biscuits. Biscuits sound really good. Baphomet thing. And scholarship thing. I've been retweeting more Palestine stuff even though I don't want to be thinking about it very much. It's crazy how this has been going on for like several months now. Like it's been over 2 months of just really intense aggression from Israel toward the people of Palestine. It's crazy. Oh my god, excuse me. Oh my god, DJ Mule. I forgot all about DJ Mule. Mackenzie! Why are we talking about DJ Mule? Because I retweeted him the other day and I was scrolling through my Twitter just now because I was like, wait, did I retweet anything on here that I need to talk about? Thank you, Mackenzie, for the $5 dono. Sorry it's not much, but I did want to share a little before the holidays. I'm so glad I found your content. Thank you! I appreciate it. Every little bit helps. Because I'm saving up to move across the country. And this is my job. So... Anyhoozle. Yeah, sorry for bringing up DJ Mule. He's the worst. Let's see. In the Discord. In the Discord. Riley Gaines. Yeah, I think we'll talk about Riley next, I suppose. I'll drop a dono on Wednesday stream after I get paid for selling my body on camera. High five. Thank you for sharing the love. I understand everybody's got Christmas shit to do, and I'm like, I get it. Like, I basically am like, okay, I've spent a tiny amount on my Christmas, and anything that I have left, I'm gonna probably make myself. And I'm gonna have to think between now and then about, like, am I gonna make Christmas dinner? That might be one of my major gifts, is, like, making some kind of special dinner. I'm not sure. But, yeah, it's rough right now. It is hard to afford things. And, you know, I know that, you know, everybody out there is struggling. Like, I don't know. There's, like, fewer and fewer people who have it easy, right? We can say, oh, yeah, all these, you know, rich people, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's fewer and fewer people every year who can say, yeah, I'm able to afford the Christmas that I was hoping to have this year. Reject money, return to barter. True. Yeah. I'm thinking, like, yeah, maybe I should, like, pivot into, not, like, pivot into, but maybe I should go ahead and make a point of selling shit that I crochet on my... Because, listen, I think after I changed the merch, like, I originally... Oh, my God, where's my... I don't have the hat with me. The original merchandise that I was selling on my merch store was just the gender anarchy symbol, right? And then I changed it to have the green splash on the back to make it a little bit more personalized, but I don't think people want that one as much. Like, I think people are like, oh yeah, I want the generic gender anarchy symbol, but I don't want the logo for your channel. And it's like, well, what I want is for the logo for my channel to be in more places. So I don't think I'm going to sell very much merch, but if I can sell stuff that I make, like I'm in the process of making a, I'm making this giant, like, shawl thing. Where are you? Here's the corner. I'm making this giant shawl, and it's got skulls, and it's turning out really cute, right? And I still have 2 more skeins. I was gonna basically put 6 skeins into this. And I'm like, I'm making this for myself, but if I were to sell this, I think it would be like $250. Like, with how big it's gonna be when I'm done with it. Oh, God. But I'm making that for me. That's for me. Unless I wear it for a little while and then I'm like, I'm bored, I'm done with this. Do you ship to Europe or is it just North America? So, the merchandise website, I think, ships internationally. If I ship something that I made, I'm gonna have to figure out the shipping myself, so I'll have to figure out how much that costs and everything. Just start a sweatshop and have them pumping those shawls out. You'll make bank. Absolutely. That's exactly the way to go. My hair is so fucked up right now. Sometimes it looks cute, but mostly it just looks frizzy. And super bad textures and damaged. Anyway, stop complaining about my hair. Honestly, okay, again, I feel like I keep saying this. Is it just me, or is this just a bad time of year for sleeping? You know what I mean? Like, I just have been sleeping like garbage. I don't think that I've been sleeping like garbage for the last 3 months. I think that it comes and goes. And I keep waking up in the middle of the night and having, weird dreams. Like, this time of year just fucking sucks. It's terrible sleep time. Yeah. I feel like I finally have gotten the temperature stuff figured out. Because as it's cooling down, the heat is kicking on throughout the night, and that can kind of put off, how much coverage you really need as far as blankets is concerned. So finally, I'm like, okay, I have my feet covered a little bit more than the top half of my body, and that's kind of keeping me regulated. But I still am fucking waking up constantly. It's annoying. Step 1, lots of blankets. Step 2, eye mask. Step 3, question marks. Step 4, still sleepy. Still eepy. Yeah. It's just a bad time of year, I guess. And I really, woke up in a shit mood today. After having woken up a lot throughout the night. I wear a Fitbit, and it would agree that my sleep has not been of the quality I normally get. Am getting food. Why not both logo and gender and anarcho-gender symbol? Is it a storefront thing? I mean, the whole point of selling merchandise is to advertise my channel. So if I have a gigantic brand, then maybe some of the merch doesn't need to have the name on it. But most, even huge brands, if they have a shirt that says something that isn't related to their brand, maybe a quote from the TV show, or not the TV show, a quote from the show, it'll still say the name of the channel on the shirt, right? So it's just there's okay, so if it does say generic gender anarchy symbol on the front, then it has to have the name Luxander on the side or something, or on the back or something. Is it possibly a humidity issue? Might want to look into a humidifier, because it might be too dry where you sleep. Maybe. I could try that, potentially. This is the darkest 7 days of the year. Well, then I should be sleeping well. Why am I not sleeping well? It's the opposite here in Europe. I have chronic insomnia, but lately I've been sleeping 11 plus hours every night. I am hibernating. I'm so jealous. I'm literally thinking I might have to start forcing myself to take a lie down in the middle of the afternoon. Not necessarily a nap, but just a 20 to 30 minute lie down with no phone. And just rest to try to recuperate some amount of energy, because I feel like shit all the time. Our brain spends 6 to 10 hours telling us it's dark, go to bed. I mean, yeah, but why am I not sleeping well at night then? I just don't know. Is the reason why crime goes up in the summer because the nights are shorter and Batman only works during the night? There's so much crime during the summer. It's true, because Batman only has, like, 7 hours. There's always the possibility of sleep apnea. I guess, yeah. And also, people with POTS are known to have sleep disturbances. So, you know, they recommend things like elevating the head of your bed by 6 inches. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound reasonable. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do that. How am I gotta build a whole structure under my bed to make it tilted 6 inches. Like, oh my god, dude. Can we get to 50 likes today? Please? Pretty please. I would also like to get to $69 in donations, because then I'll take my shirt off and flex for you. But I can't flex. I've been at the gym working out, like, every week, basically, since fucking November, and I can't show you anything. I have to hide behind these hoodies. It's so sad. But yeah, I know the whole rhythm is off during the winter. But I made Vossel yesterday. I did it. I've been thinking about doing it, and I did it. I just got like a jug of apple cider, and I did some orange juice. I roasted an orange and some apple. I put a bunch of spices in there. I heated it up. I regret the fact that I didn't make sure to store it last night, because there was some left that I'm going to have to just get rid of. But, like, my refrigerator is full of a bunch of jars of, like, various pickled products. And it's like they're still technically good, so we can't get rid of them, apparently. God damn it. Just a whole bunch of pickled products. My Not Safe for Work Twitter has been relatively consistent in likes for my tweets, usually 50 to 100, but my Safe for Work account with barely any followers, where I mostly argue with transphobes, random replies I make have been popping off into 200 plus likes. Got 500 the other day. How does social media work? Yeah. Why is it that my account, where I have 4,000 followers, like, I regularly don't get any views on my tweets? It's really, and I'm allegedly not shadow banned, you know? I think it's because all of these platforms reward consistency. So if you're posting many times a day, every day, not only are you simply posting more, and therefore something is likely to get more traction than something else, but I think that it actually starts deprioritizing your posts the more rarely you post. And because I think the same thing happened to me on Facebook, where I stopped using Facebook very much at a certain point, and nowadays my selfies show up to most of my friends, but, like, most of my other posts don't. And it just seems as though posting every day is the thing that all of these platforms want to incentivize. And literally, there's just literally no point to using it if you're only going to use it few and far between. Like, just absolutely no point. My Not Safe for Work account is definitely shadow banned. I checked the shadow ban site. If I post a non-nude, it gets, like, fewer than 10 likes usually. Hence the Safe for Work account, to try to expand reach. Right. You know, link to your Not Safe for Work account, but mostly post on your main one, I guess, is how a lot of folks do it on Twitter nowadays. Anyway. Drink some water, babes. And do I have any coffee left? I do have a little bit of coffee left. Oh my god. That's like such a great surprise when you're like, I'm pretty sure that I drank the rest of my coffee, but then there's still a little taste left. Yummy. My Facebook is more like my semi-public journal of reminding myself, don't be a dumbass. Very nice. I do my random ass tweets on my Safe for Work account, memes, selfies, mostly arguing with dumbass TERFs. It's crazy how infrequently it occurs to me to say something in the way that I would tweet it. Like, okay, and I mean by this, like, sometimes I'll have random thoughts, and I'm like, LOL, I should tweet that, right? That happens less and less the more that I don't want to be on Twitter, but it has not yet been replaced with a sensation that's like, Lamau, I should post this on Blue Sky. Sometimes I'll post things on Blue Sky that are like that, and like that can be fun. I just am like, I just don't even have the impulse to post on social media that much, which obviously is not good for someone who has a brand. But I'm posting on my Patreon more if I'm ever like, oh, I want to share pictures of something. Like I took pictures of my Vossel this weekend, and I should post those this week along with my little recipe and maybe share that with you guys on the Patreon. And a lot of that stuff I'll post for free too. I don't only post behind the paywall on Patreon. There's free stuff over there. And yeah, like I guess that's the thing that you're supposed to do nowadays as a YouTube creator is use the community post and try to filter more attention to your Patreon for even like, I mean, you know, and YouTube itself is doing memberships only shit, and I just don't want to deal with having to, oh, every time I line up a reward for Patreon, I have to also go do it on fucking YouTube. Like, oh my god, no, thank you. I'm good. Excuse me. A couple days ago, I've been blocking more on Twitter, specifically with TERFs. Yeah, I think transphobe strategy is just to exhaust all trans people with their bullshit. I don't really do as much arguing. Like, I keep feeling the impulse to go argue sometimes. Lately, I've been posting YouTube shorts that have been breaking out into a mainstream audience where people criticize me a lot, and I've been arguing in my comments on my YouTube page. But I've been blocking people way more liberally on Twitter. Like, I'll go and be looking at the replies to something intensely transphobic, and I'll just go through and start blocking. Or even, you know, stuff that's anti-Palestine, I'll go through and just delete, like, just block people. Like, I don't want to live in the same country as you people. I don't want to live on the same planet as you people. I don't have any idea how to have mutuality or conversations with any of you people. Like, I think that partially what's going on is that I'm giving up on the idea that, like, I personally need to be part of the changing people's opinions thing, at least in that regard. Like, you know, nobody gives a shit what I think. I'm femme, I'm trans, I'm queer. Like, people, aside from the fact that I'm white, I don't have anything going for me in terms of getting people to listen to what I have to say, and particularly those types. So you know what? I'll let Vosh continue to do his work of de-radicalizing people if that's still one of the things that he wants to do when he argues with transphobes, you know? He's trying to convince someone out there to deconvert. And yeah, I don't, like, I don't think that that's my job. I don't want to have anything to do with those people, and I want to just be able to, like, I don't know. I just want to focus on my own shit. I have stuff to do. I have things to do. I don't have the time and attention to give to someone who wants to, like, parasitically suck all my energy out. This is lower in the frame than I would like to be, but whatever. Something happened and this got, like, bumped, and now it won't fucking stay in the places where I want it to stay. Okay, that's too much. That's a little bit better. Y'all, my Lyft is coming to take me to the airport in 8 minutes. What's something I might have forgotten? Do you have your phone charger or any other chargers that you need? Chargers for your sex toys if you're bringing any sex toys? I think building local mutual aid and focus on local political things is going to be more impactful than trying to convince people on the internet, but it's understandable for wanting to cultivate connections in online spaces. Yeah. You know, it is, yeah, do you have your medication? You have your toothpaste? I want to cultivate connections in online spaces because I don't really, well, first of all, I don't really want to establish community in person because I'm leaving this part of the country and I don't want to, like, those chargers in airports are used to steal phone data. Yeah, don't use those. Find a power socket and use your own chargers. Yeah, so so having online spaces allows you to connect and network. And, you know, maybe I want to connect a network for the place that I'm going to eventually be living, which means I need to get to know more people who live in, like, Washington. I got a double USB to wall adapter so I can charge my phone and earbuds if needed. Thinking ahead. I wish you much, much good luck on your trip. Whatever it is that you're doing. Good luck, be safe, TLDR, all that shit. We hit 50 likes. Hey, thank you guys. I'm so proud of us for hitting 50 likes. I don't know if today's gonna be a day where we hit 69 likes. I'm moving somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know exactly where it's gonna be yet. One of these days, I will win the lottery and build a cottagecore neighborhood for my friends. I'll probably stay and stream until the flight takes off. Just gonna be in and out, probably. Yeah, no worries. You'll be here with us spiritually. Does Idaho count as the Pacific Northwest? I don't really think of it when I think of that. Yeah, it would be nice. We've talked about it so many times on stream. Of course, it would be nice to be able to build mutuality. I had a really sad realization recently. Which is that I feel like it's a good thing that I am imagining my future a lot. I'm, like, imagining what are things gonna look like in 10 years, I guess, is, where my brain is. And I'm thinking about how do I get there? You know, someone suggested this podcast, and I've been listening to it. What is it called? The Poor Proles Almanac, which goes over, like, the kind of stuff that you would need to pay attention to if you were trying to create sustainability, like your own food production, your own land, that kind of stuff. And I am thinking about all those things, and it feels honestly really hopeful that I think that I'm going to be able to do all the things that I need to do, collect the water, you know, do the irrigation, grow the plants. Like, the idea that I'm going to be able to survive and be self-sustainable despite the fact that the climate is going to be collapsing around me is a very hopeful future, you know? And so that's kind of like a positive way to spin it. But I also have realized that I always imagine myself alone. And it's like, I'm not necessarily imagining myself single or, like, anything like that, but it's that every time I'm imagining myself do something, I'm doing it alone. And I'm realizing that that's kind of a problem. I don't think that that's a good or realistic way, especially for someone who's married and plans on staying. So, like, I don't really think that that's a good way for my brain to be operating. But I'm so accustomed to not having any support that in my, like, happy, idealized future, I'm just mega capable of doing everything that I need to do, and that I don't need to rely on anybody, and I never need help with anything, basically. I can't show Tum unless we get to $69. I'm so sorry. We need donations. I have not been getting very much money lately. I need to incentivize the donos. I can't show Tummy without that. Radical self-reliance. Yeah, but it's, like, bad. It's, like, toxic self-reliance. Interdependence is good, but good to find your own space. You can be yourself too. Yeah, but the problem, yeah, I'm on the extreme opposite end of interdependence. And that's, like, the issue that I'm having. Like, I just refuse to ask for help anymore. Like, I think that I've just been let down enough times by people who I was relying on to help me that I just don't have any mutually supportive relationships like that. I think it can be a good thing to imagine your future as a whole and complete human being rather than codependent on someone else. Right, I feel like there's a happy middle ground between being extremely codependent versus being, like, extremely independent to the point where, like, it causes problems in your life, you know? Like, there's a distinction between alone and being lonely, right? You can be alone and not be harmed by it in the sense that you are lonely. And so it's, like, a similar thing where, like, I could be in my pursuit of independence, like, that can also be toxic and harmful. Did you knock over water? I almost did, but I didn't quite. Maybe you should start prioritizing things for you to learn for yourself and get a realistic idea of what you're going to be able to do on your own. I mean, the thing with that is that, like, yeah, I'm sitting here like, oh, I'm learning, I'm like listening to this podcast where they're talking about like how to make sure the soil is going to be good long term. Here's how you test it. Here's what you plant if you're lacking these certain nutrients. Like, from the ground up, I will be a psychopath and learn all of these individual things and try to do it to get all by myself. Coke should pay you ad money. See, this is the thing. This is why I need to get my own coffee mug, is so that I can drink from my own coffee mug and not be promoting Coca-Cola with my water bottle. Water cup. For that stuff, just downloading Wikipedia is not going to be good enough for, like, an expansive... That's not being a psychopath, that's being dependable to yourself. I feel like maybe this is not hitting the way that I want it to. Like, the key is just remembering not to try to do everything. But see, that's the thing, is that it's not just that I want to know all the things. It's like, I want to know all the things because I do not trust anyone else to do it right. You know? And I will spend, like, a crazy amount of time learning about something in order to do it myself, when I could have just asked someone else to do it. Yeah, okay, so Mama, you're kind of, yes, that's more the, like, direction that I'm heading here. Like, humans aren't meant to do everything on our own. We are meant to do cooperative. Yeah, it's not, obviously it's not a dependence issue. I'm saying I have the opposite of a dependence issue. Whatever the issue is where you're like, I refuse to ask for help, and I will research everything on my own, and, like, I imagine myself doing everything by myself with no help. If I didn't have a partner, I would be right there with you. She has forced me to rein that in a little. When I say a little, I mean a little. We call that the American brain rot. Yeah, like, being unable to ask for help in the first place is part of the problem. Like, knowing that you're not going to receive help because you've asked for it in the past, or because, you know, it's like, oh, I don't even have to ask, for example, like, I don't even have to ask my mom if she's going to help me with work, because I know that she's going to come home, or with my schoolwork, because I know that she's going to come home and immediately have a bunch of shit to do, and then she's going to go to bed early. You know, like, you don't necessarily even need to be reaching out for help and then being scorned for it, although that does obviously, like, exponentially make the problem worse. I'm too used to doing everything mostly on my own beyond disability money, but I do trust and depend on my family, emotionally speaking. Yeah, and, like, my mom is abusive, and it turns out that my dad also has issues that are unforgivable, and so, like, I don't have family to rely on, and I've had to learn that, like, those are not people I can rely on. Like, I just basically don't have any sense of... It, like, it doesn't occur to me to do things cooperatively, because I'm like, I will take care of it. You've heard of American Idiot, now get ready for The American Dream is Killing Me, both by Green Day. Truly. Yeah, the issue is about, like, when you're trying to work through trust issues, the problem is that you have to actually, like, ask a person to help you. And then, the thing about having that avoidance issue, too, is that you have to be careful about how you ask for things, because it's very easy to reinforce that problem, you know? So if you ask for something, and then it turns out that the person is really tired that day that you made those plans or whatever, like, it doesn't really matter how justified the reason is. Like, if you reach out for help and you feel like it was hard to reach out for help, and then for any reason you don't get that help, you're just learning, like, okay, I'm not gonna ask again, you know? So, it's like you have to be actually kind of careful how you wade into that. And frankly, like, if you're a person who has pretty serious trust issues, you might need to work through it in your more superficial relationships. Recognizing trust issues is a first step to overcoming them. It stems from traumas, and healing those traumas / reparenting oneself is difficult but necessary. Right. It's just that my impulse right now is like, oh, I'm not going to talk to anybody for the rest of the month. Like, that's kind of where that's how I feel. And I know that that's like not a healthy situation, but it does. I just feel like, oh, I feel like shit, and I have felt like shit for weeks. And so the thing that I need to do is just stop interacting with anybody. And that's my go-to every time, is like, I'm just gonna stop interacting. Like, I'm just gonna cease and desist. Isn't that avoidance? I mean, not asking help anymore when we can't get help is that not what I said? If you have this avoidance in the first place, then it's very easy to reinforce it, is what I was trying to say. You know? And then, another thing that I'm working through in therapy is like trying to have just a supportive relationship with a friend, and not even a serious emotional relationship, but like, even that, if someone is coming to me for my friendship, like, I often find myself feeling really drained by those kinds of relationships, but I don't have the impulse to seek out friendships. So I just end up in these situations where people are coming to me because they want some of my energy, and then I feel drained by these relationships, and I feel like I'm giving and giving and giving, and like, the occasions where I ask for something, I'm not getting what I need, and I'm just like, okay, I am just not going to ask anymore. This is everything I'm working on in therapy right now. Mackenzie, right? It's so hard. I'm like, I need to be doing very active work against this, and it's like soul crushing that I just am so much happier. I feel like I'm so much happier when I don't try to talk to anybody. Like, that I start trying to have interactions with people, and I'm like, wow, this fucking sucks. Like, almost immediately, So I'm really good at strangers. If I'm on a walk and I pass by some strangers, I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Like, howdy. I'm really good at that. Literally anything beyond that, I'm like, I would just rather live in complete silence. And I know that that's not healthy. Hey, Shade, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. The day I joined the Discord was very anxiety-inducing for me due to my agoraphobia, but I forced myself to do it. Hey, listen, high fives. I like the Discord server. It's a good place to be. Excuse me. My trust issues have improved, but definitely still have a hard time believing things, wouldn't eventually turn to shit, and I won't have people who I can trust. Right. Been working on that as well in therapy. Didn't know it could be avoidance, so thanks for speaking out about it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's avoidance. Like, and for me, it's like fear of abandonment, because if I just don't have any close relationships, then I don't need to worry about abandonment. Do any of you do that, where you feel like someone's mad at you, and so you do something to sabotage the relationship, and you're just trying to preemptively, like, get the fuck out of there? You know what I mean? Like, you have the impulse to just be like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Like, I'm just going to ghost this person. I'm just not going to respond to their messages because, like, I am anxious about the idea that they're going to be mad at me, or they're going to abandon me. People always think of fear of abandonment as being this, like, you just constantly act desperate for them not to leave you. You threaten suicide in order to prevent them from leaving you. But I think more often, we just cut people out of our lives so that they don't have a chance to hurt us first. I love the cottagecore neighborhood idea because I get to live near my friends, but also have my own house because I like having control of my space and my time alone. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad that I've never had a roommate. It's difficult enough, being in a romantic relationship and trying to share that space, but I have never had roommates and tried to navigate that aspect of it. Also, the rejection sensitivity. It's hard for me to trust people when I am also afraid of them telling me I'm wrong. Yeah, I kind of feel like I have been convinced a number of times that I am doing something wrong. And then, like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't actually know that I was wrong. And, like, also, I feel like I have tried to cop to it when someone is, like, criticizing me. If they're like, you know, you're doing this, like, oh, you shouldn't have titled your stream that, whatever. Like, I feel like so many times in the past, I have been sensitive to the idea that I'm doing something wrong or harmful that I disproportionately took on too much responsibility for situations that weren't, you know, it's like, to a certain extent, it's out of my control, you know? Like, I am not going to pick up on the subtleties of social interactions in the way that other people do. And, like, I feel like I have gradually stopped feeling like I care as much when I get called out. Like, you know, and it's partially because of being, you know, being online and being accused of perpetuating harm. And it's like, well, demonstrate the harm, okay? I don't fucking care if you're just gonna abstractly say, oh, this is biphobic. Like, shut up. I don't care. And I think that that sort of pattern, having continued on for so long, has just created a situation where, like, I am frankly not as open to criticism as I used to be. Because I'm like, okay, how many times have I been told that I should be doing things differently? Like, how many times have I been, and, like, no, apparently no matter how much I try to adjust, this is why you end up with people like Natalie Wynn, who just completely go, okay, well, I'm just gonna only make content for my patrons because I don't fucking care what the public thinks anymore. It's like, literally, I can't do anything right. All of my attempts to be, like, a caring and kind person and to be considerate and to think of everybody's feelings, like, someone is still always mad at me, so I don't care anymore, you know? And it's not like you even choose to stop caring. You just fucking can't. Like, you just don't have the energy for it anymore. My pro tip for finding a roommate is to hook up with people on Tinder, I guess. I do the ghosting thing because I mistakenly believe they don't like talking to me. I'm trying to reassure myself and build emotional resilience. Yeah. It's hard to internalize the idea that, like, if someone is mad at you, they'll let you know. Because I do get that sometimes, that unspecified general feeling like something is wrong. My hoodie's the wrong color. What color should it be? Do I have to be wearing a black hoodie? Well, someone donate $25 and I'll buy myself one of my own hoodies. But yeah, the general nebulous sensation that something is wrong, you know, you have to be careful about that feeling because sometimes that feeling will lead you into a situation where now something is a problem. Oh, I was saying I don't take BS criticism, and then you said my hoodie's the wrong color. Oh, okay. I'm letting down my community. I'm letting my people down because my hoodie is the wrong color. The color of my hoodie is anti-Semitic. I feel like I really want to try my shorts on because it's been a long time, but I am feeling eepy already. There's booty shorts on my merch store, by the way. If anybody is interested, they're kind of expensive. I don't know why they're so expensive to make. Like, it's not like I'm charging a huge amount beyond, like, the manufacturing costs. They're just expensive to make, apparently. But there's some booty shorts if y'all want some. Also, my psychiatrist has been telling me, maybe you didn't do anything wrong, you're just paranoid, don't think about it, didn't help. Yeah, like, yes, I have trauma and hypervigilance, okay? But that also means that I can tell when something is wrong. It usually, you know, I get this creeping feeling like something is wrong, and then I can, like, there's something happening in an interaction, and I can feel, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be, like, someone is about to tell me that they're upset with me. I can feel it, and I feel like, okay, I'm trying to really carefully navigate the conversation. I'm trying to engage in a way, I'm like, okay, I can tell that something, like, this person is getting ready to try to hold me accountable for something that they're annoyed about. And I'm like, okay. And then it just, like, it just frequently ends up in a situation where I'm like, I don't understand what the fuck is going on. But it's like I knew that something was wrong. I was correct that the person was annoyed or upset with me. I could tell, and I tried to navigate carefully through it. And then because sometimes people, like, they just want you to know about their feelings, like, I just end up having to deal with it anyway. I'm like, oh yeah, so there has been something wrong. And it turns out, like, you're trying to have a conversation about this one small thing that happened just that day, and then they tell you during that conversation that they have been upset with you for, like, a couple weeks, and you're like, oh, okay, I knew something was wrong. You can't, like, gaslight a person who has trauma. I'm like, I can tell. Being neurodivergent has also made it difficult for me to understand what is constructive criticism and what is just people being assholes. Yeah, because that's the question, Mackenzie. It's like, if I'm neurodivergent and someone is telling me that I'm doing something wrong socially, they tell me that I missed a social cue, you know? Are they telling me that so that I can do it differently in the future? Like, are they just upset with me for not getting it in the first place? And what do you expect me to do differently? If it's genuinely like, I didn't predict some stupid fucking pretend rule, like, I don't automatically... And here's the thing, too. I also feel like people are rude to me, and they don't think they're being rude to me. Like, it goes both ways, where apparently I'm super fucking rude. Like, apparently I'm incredibly rude. And people want to tell me that, like, I'm doing all these things wrong socially. But I also feel like other people are fucking rude to me, and when I try to call them out, I'm the asshole. And, like, I'm expected to just deal with it. Like, the double standard of it all is the other thing. And, you know, it doesn't help if the person is taking issue with you and you're like, the thing that you're taking issue with was me having a response to this overwhelming situation. That's the other thing that happens as an autistic person a lot, is like, and sometimes the other person even did the thing that's overwhelming you. And you're like, okay, well, you did this thing was really overwhelming to me, and so that's why I'm upset. But then they're focused on your reaction, and because they don't understand why you should be upset about the thing that they upset you over, then it just at no point does it matter at all that you, the autistic person, were reacting to something, you know? Like, I really do feel like autistic people are not allowed to have completely normal and proportionate reactions to things that are really difficult for us to deal with. Oh my god, true, Mills. The psychic damage that you take because you are also then left with intrusive thoughts, endlessly cringing about something that you may have said wrong years ago because you don't know what's appropriate and what's not, and the rules keep changing. I'd rather have the criticism than absence, but that stems from trauma due to neglect. I don't have trauma with cruel, excessive criticism. I don't take the whole your sweater as anti-Semitic personally. I'm detached from that. IDK, how to help people not take criticism or just malicious nitpicking personally. Well, so there's a distinction, right? Like, there's a distinction between, you know, people telling me that I'm a groomer. Like, I don't care. People telling me that I need to find Jesus. I don't care. People calling me degrading things related to my gender. I don't care. Slurs. I don't care. I think it's in particular... And it's like, I think it's this thing that Natalie Wynn brought up during her cancellation videos when she was making those videos about being canceled, is that I think people take advantage of the fact that you don't want to be accused of doing harm. And like, this is the point that she makes, is like, you know, she does care about not harming other marginalized groups, you know? And so if you tell her that she has done something unintentionally harmful, she is going to then go, oh my God, I didn't mean to do that. I feel bad. I'm going to do a correction on that, you know? But, like, that, like, can't keep happening forever. Like, it doesn't, you know, at a certain point, if you cannot do anything to make people feel like you've, you know, fixed whatever harm you've done. Again, about like, I hate the nebulous accusations of harm in this space. Like, at a certain point, you are just being emotionally tortured by people who know that you care about doing harm and that you don't want to do harm. And so they are just going to continuously tell you that you're doing harm, refuse to allow for personal growth. Like, like, it's hard not to feel like you being a good person is being taken advantage of, because people who do care about others take it really hard when you tell them that they've done something careless or whatever, like if you tell them that they've done something harmful. And yeah, like at a certain volume, it's like, what is the point of you telling me that I've done this thing? What do you want? Like, do you want the apology? And then there's also always the criticisms like, oh, you apologized immediately. That means you didn't mean it. Or, oh, you took too long to think about it. Like, oh, this is a polished apology that you took 3 days to think about. You know, you can never do anything right in these circumstances. I remember hanging with some friends when I was in high school, and we stopped at a convenience store, and the friend with money was like, yeah, I'll get you something up to $4. And I was looking for something that was $4, and another friend took me aside and said, that's rude, you should get something less. And I'm like, what the fuck? They said $4, and it's rude to accept that offer? Yeah, trying to get the most out of your $4 is rude, I think, in that situation. For me, I care too much about dumb things like people perceiving me in a way that isn't filled with hatred, but I also learned to feel ashamed for caring about what other people think of me. So either I feel ashamed for caring, or I feel afraid constantly that other people hate me. Rude is such a BS concept. Rude is people moralizing every action. I mean, I just think that, like, people feel like rudeness, I think, is people feeling disrespected, and then they're telling you that you were being rude, you know? Like, I think it's possible to be disrespectful to someone and not mean to, right? Like, if you were meeting your girlfriend's dad for the first time and you called him Pops, maybe he's really offended by the casual manner in which you've referred to him, but that doesn't mean that you were being rude by saying like, hey, Pops, it's good to meet you. You know, you were just too casual for his preference. So in that case, like, I think he can feel disrespected without you having actually been rude in the first place, right? That whole thing in Southeast Asian cultures where it's a norm to offer people money and you're supposed to decline and it's seen as rude to accept the offer. Yeah, it's so many rules. Like, I just, like, please be straightforward. I'm gonna lose my mind. Oh, God. Drink more water, everybody. Can we get to 69 likes today? I'm probably going to stream for like another hour. So let's see. Max! It's Max! Ah! Rude is just another word for shaming, IMO. It's just, yeah, it's rudeness, the concept of rudeness, and the fact that, like, a lot of just default neurodivergent behaviors are labeled rude. Like, being quiet and standoffish can be considered rude, and even though you're probably just, like, shy or unfamiliar with the situation, like, neurodivergent traits being stigmatized and called rude. It's like my inability to predict everything that someone could be offended by does not make me rude, okay? Shame can be an important tool for shaming bullies or bigots, but people shame over the stupidest things. Yeah, we use shame to reinforce a lot of stuff. And it is, like, what do you do if you're a person who's like, I have been repeatedly told, despite my best efforts, and despite the fact that I'm constantly trying to readjust my expectations, that I am apparently still fucking up and being rude all the time. Like, it's like, you just want to eat a bullet. Like, apparently, I'm never gonna get this right. So either you continue to be upset about the fact that you're not living up to the expectation and you continue trying to live up to the expectation, or you realize that this is fucking negging and you stop trying to live up to the expectation. It's like, I don't have the capacity to care about every single thing that people think is rude or whatever. You know, there's like the criticism about, I called the most recent stream before this one like BreadTube drama alert or something like that. BreadTube abuser drama or something like this, right? And people have taken issue with the title. And like, on some level, I accept that that's something you could be critical of, right? Like, I don't think that I am entirely at fault for the fact that that is the most effective way to get eyeballs on this. And, you know, people were like, oh, doesn't this do more harm than good? Like, okay, so my title of the stream, you're saying does more harm than, like, the 2-hour-long nuanced conversation we had about abuse and BDSM and that dynamic and everything? Like, it depends on how you measure harm. If the goal of these women who wrote this letter against Sophie, if their goal is to, like, get you to know that Sophie is an abuser, then does it really matter what you title the show so long as more people know that this person is harmful to people? Like, talking about, like, actual harm, spreading the message and preventing her from harming more people seems like it is the best harm reduction strategy. So, you know, you can be concerned that the title of the show being like calling this drama, I think is the thing that people were taking issue with. But that is how people think of this shit. People think of it as drama. And so part of it was for me also like, okay, what if we use a sensationalized title to get people in here for a nuanced conversation? Because then the people who are just looking for drama, they are going to get a little bit of their drama, but they are also going to get the nuanced conversation and the education about BDSM. Rudeness can also be being genuinely inconsiderate of others, like not returning the shopping cart or stepping on someone's toes and not apologizing. Agree. Okay, I agree. So, like, rudeness, I don't think, you know, we can't just say it's only for shaming neurodivergent people or whatever. It is hard for me because I don't really take offense to anything, but also I'm never trying to cause offense. I have echolalia and will attempt to mimic things my ear enjoys before I'm even aware of it. And I've been accused of minstrelling when it's just... you're just stimming. And it's like, I didn't realize that I was doing it even sometimes. Rudeness within the context of etiquette is just a code for identifying the in-group. Are you one of the ones who know the ways of the salad fork and the small talk, or are you an other? Right, like the whole idea of calling your girlfriend's dad Pops being rude, that's, you are not demonstrating that you understand the power dynamic at play when you go meet the girlfriend's dad. You know, you've identified yourself as not having, like, understood those rules. But it can be genuinely being inconsiderate. But again, when you are neurodivergent, I think that being called inconsiderate is one of those things that can be weaponized against you repeatedly. Because it's like, I'm not psychic. I'm like at a point where I cannot predict reliably what other people consider to be inconsiderate. And other people are not able to predict what I consider to be inconsiderate either. So I don't know where the problem lies, you know? What's up, Dream? Welcome in. Inconsiderate is another word for doing something that inconveniences someone else, which is why so many things people with disabilities do is considered, quote, inconsiderate. Thank you, Mackenzie, for another $5 dono. Here's another $5 because I don't know when I'll be able to watch live again, and for making me feel seen as a trans and neurodivergent person living in a crazy fucking world that doesn't make sense. I appreciate you. Thank you very much, and I'm glad to make you feel seen. Like, I feel like I struggle with this a lot. I've struggled with this for years. This, like, constant feeling of crushing inadequacy because I am repeatedly running into situations where people are like, wow, you're so rude. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What's up, Mama's back? Y'all, my tuck was so good, it fooled the penis detection machine. High five, girl. Just shove it all in there. Good job. There's this fantastic minigame collection called Consider It on Steam that does a fantastic job of showcasing social norms and rules. That's fascinating. Welcome in, by the way. We're bitching about how being neurodivergent in this world sucks balls, and people are constantly telling you that you're thoughtless and shitty. Your stream title was fine. It straddled the line between outrage farming and bringing awareness. Drama is how controversy is contextualized and depersonalized. Yeah. Again, I thought that it would be worse if I was like, Sophie from Mars is an abuser. Because that was like the other obvious stream title to go, is like calling her out specifically. I thought that that would be sensationalized, so I went with like a generic bread tuber, there's drama, wee-oo. The difference here is that neurodivergent people have to be hyper-considerate, and neurotypicals aren't expected to even try to reciprocate. Yeah, I mean, it's like a supremacy issue, is what it comes down to. It's that allistic people believe that their way of communicating is superior, and that your way, in like you are forced to accommodate that. It's as though, I've seen this comparison to language before. It's like if you are Russian and you speak Russia, and then you come to America, and like obviously the expectation is that you conform and speak English, you know? Like obviously. But the entire world is like that for autistic people. Everywhere we go, we're expected to speak a different language than the one that we were taught and grew up with, and like have the natural inclination to speak, you know? Like, it took way less time to get through security than I thought. Got to kill an hour before boarding. Hey, it's better that way than the other way around. You know, at least you gave yourself plenty of time. I also feel that for a lot of people, being blunt and honest equals being rude, when for me, being dishonest is rude. Sure, and it depends on, like, it's possible for you to be being honest and also not phrasing the thing in a way that is going to get your point across, you know? You can be being honest and be too blunt about your honesty, you know? What's up, Mersh? I was thinking about you earlier. I'm glad that you came in. No worries, Shade. I appreciate you being here anyway. I had a girlfriend from New York as an undergrad in college who tried to correct my southern accent. Holy fuck. I've been told full stop that telling the truth is rude and lying to make people feel better is, quote, polite, as though lying is inherently preferable. Yeah. Like, I don't really know what people are expecting when like, what kind of society do you have if everybody's default is to obscure how they feel and lie? Imagine trying to correct someone else's accent when you're from New York, of all places. Oh, truly. New Yorker, lecturing on accents? Give me a break. I'm walking here, you know? They talk so fast, too. I know people have told me that saying I don't believe in God is rude if I'm speaking to someone who does believe in God. I don't think you're wrong about that, Violet. Like, I think that is the dominant social rule. It is rude to tell a Christian that you don't believe in God, because they will interpret that as you, like, attacking their worldview, basically. Like, because Christians are so entwined in their belief in God, it is not possible for you to criticize their belief without you criticizing them as a person. And it is rude. Like, it is crossing a social barrier to do that. I don't think that that's right, and I'm not saying that, like, it should be considered rude, but, like, I can feel it if I were to be in a situation where I might say that I'm an atheist to a believer. I can feel the conflict just imminently waiting to occur. I know that would be a cause for conflict. Good Rizzo? My Rizzo? Anyhoozle. 2.5 hours into this show, we've got 38 viewers. We're at 65 likes. So close to 69. Girl, we're so close to 69 likes. And I do still have a couple of topics that I'm planning on discussing today. I think I technically still have 3 left, but I don't know if I'm going to do all 3 at this point. I don't want to do the T-girls win at croquet thing. I don't fucking care. Oh, man. God exists as part of people's minds. When you tell them you don't believe in God, you have to understand that it feels to them like you are rejecting part of who they are. Yeah, pretty much. Because there's no proof of God outside their minds. It's completely a thing that exists inside their mind. So of course it feels like you're attacking something essential about them. Granted, I do get that people don't like that believing in God doesn't match the scientific evidence, and that pointing that out does offend them, but at a certain point it's just going into favoring apologetics for the sake of avoiding pointing out people's irrational beliefs. Yeah, it is all basically like... all of these things, again, telling a Christian that you don't believe in their shit is rude. It's the same thing, where it's about hierarchies and structures. Rudeness so often has to do with violating a power dynamic. Like, I remembered something recently. Someone on my Facebook posted about this type of thing, and I was thinking about this recently. So, here's a little bit of lore about how fucking weird my family is. I have multiple generations of divorce on both sides of my family, and sometimes more than one divorce. You know, like on one side of my family, I had a granddad and a step-granddad. And my step-granddad, as far as I know, is still married to my grandma. Like, they've been going for a long time. So I had 2 granddads on that side of my family, right? On the other side of my family, I have, like... I grew up with one granddad who I knew was my biological granddad. And then my grandma was married to my step-granddad, okay? And then, when I was older, I found out that my biological granddad wasn't actually my biological granddad. So, I ended up meeting my biological granddad. And I was like, okay, that's like a lot of granddads. I still care a lot about the one that I grew up thinking was my biological granddad. And, like, the step-granddad was a cool dude and everything. He was fine. But... so that's how many granddads I had on that side of the family, right? And then later, by the time I was like 10 or 11, my grandma is on yet another husband. And at some point, I can't remember what it was specifically, but he was like trying to correct me about something, or trying to tell me something about how I was doing something. And I was like, why do I care what you think? And it's kind of embarrassing in retrospect. I was just straight up like, why does it matter to me what you think? Because I was like, you're not an authority figure over me. I was like, I'm here to be with my grandma. She's the one who I know and care about. Like, who the fuck are you? You're just you're just yet another guy that she's married. I don't know or care about you. And, like, she ended up going to bat for me and was like, she was talking about me, and she was like, well, she's right. Like, why does she need to? And so, honestly... but it was me usurping the power dynamic. This adult thinking that just because he was an adult, he could tell me about my business, versus me being like 11 years old going, why the fuck do I care what you think? Like, it's maddening because it's breaching a power dynamic. It's like a social structure that you're not supposed to work against. Lux, you're my parasocial granddad. True. It's the double standard where they are allowed to yell at me and say I am wrong for being an atheist, but I'm a horrible person for not believing, because it reminds them that there are people who don't share their beliefs. Yeah, I think honestly that it might have something to do with like a fundamental... somewhere in their heart they know that it's bullshit, or they know that they are believing in something despite all the evidence to the contrary. Excuse me. I've been struggling with my own Christian beliefs recently, and something horribly bad happened to me and someone's mutual friend. They were so upset, wondering why bad things happen to good people, and I was frustrated with the situation, so it just came out of my mouth, because God doesn't exist. She went silent and the conversation ended. Yeah. Like, why do bad things happen to good people? You know, in a just world, why do little kids get, like, dysentery and die shitting their brains out? Like, yeah, because there's no one looking out for us. But that's really hopeless. People don't like being confronted with that. It's also not, like, the correct thing to say if someone is mourning. Like, I can understand why that disrupted the conversation. You know, I'm not saying... Again, there's, like, that fine line between being honest and being... You know, it's not... People keep saying recently that brutally honest people seem to care more about being brutal than they do about being honest. You know, it's... Because you can be honest and just not be... You can just not make the situation worse. Yeah, if God did exist, we would be morally obligated to usurp him and kill him and dethrone him. Morally speaking, that was a very convincing... I was already an atheist at this point by the time I heard this argument, but I was like, that is very convincing. The idea that, you know, if we would step in and intervene in a situation where a child is being harmed, and we aren't even all-powerful, then if there is a being who is all-powerful, who could prevent the suffering of children and chooses not to, then that person... Like, we are more moral than that being. That being is an immoral being. I need to tell Jimmy sometime that I could absolutely go on one of his atheist shows. He only ever invites me to go on the Transatlantic Call-In show. And I'm like, listen, I've been doing atheism for longer than I've been doing the trans stuff. Like, I'll dust it off. The only power dynamics I respect are the ones where if you break the rules, they can actually punish you. Yeah. My family are radical evangelical Christians at this time in history. I've never directly disrespected them, but just because I'm a Messianic Jew, they don't want me at any family functions. Like, did your family had to have taken on evangelical Christianity, right? Because usually people who are Jewish, like, that's how they were raised? Or did you choose? Is that what the Messianic means? Does it mean that you, like, chose it later on? I grew up Mormon in Salt Lake City. Deconstruction from that was and still is difficult yet empowering. The trauma from growing up in a cult is crazy. Yeah, speaking of Mr. Atheist, like, that was the reason why I initially followed his channel, was because he is, like... He was initially talking mostly about the Mormonism stuff, and I was fascinated by that because I don't know anything about Mormonism. That's how I found him too. Then Takis. Yeah. Yeah, it was years back when he was focused on the Mormon stuff. He then switched and started doing more like reacting to Christian channels who are saying bad things. And that I found really boring, so... But I like what he's doing now, producing the line. Mormons are wacky people. They're so silly. Oh, good grief. I said that I had other political news, and then we went off on a whole neurodivergency tangent. Someone recommended to me in the chat the last time we had a huge conversation about how frustrating it is to try to deal with this. Someone recommended a book to me, and it's on my Amazon wish list, and I can't remember what it was called. But it's like, it's basically about trying to figure out how to talk to people when you're autistic. What is it called? Where are my lists? Wish list. That's not the main wish list. It's called A Field Guide to Earthlings, an autistic/Asperger view of neurotypical behavior. So I need to read that at some point. It's on my Amazon wish list. I want a copy. I've moved to a new country, so I'm dealing with both the neurodivergent communication issues and operating in my second language. It is so hard all the time. At least you can like pretend that all of your autistic stuff is just because you're like second language. You could be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. I'm not from here." Like, I almost feel like you would get more of a pass, Because the thing about being neurodivergent and being like punished constantly for social missteps is that part of what you're being punished for is like, you are supposed to have this right and you can't figure it out. Like, they expect you to have it right, and because you are doing it wrong, and like you're subverting their expectation that you have it right, you know? That's partially why people get so frustrated with you, is because they're like, why don't you just do this right? But yeah, nobody expects you to get it right if you're literally from somewhere else. They're like, oh, this American, so stupid, no, left too big of a tip. Like, okay, you know, because you don't actually need to tip when you're in France, you know? But like, as an American, if you didn't specifically learn about the culture of tipping there, like for example, if you learned all of your French on Duolingo and not in a classroom where the teacher can tell you, don't leave a gratuity because it's included in the check, like all these little things, at least you have the excuse. Like, okay, whatever, you're just a foreigner. Obviously it's, oh, isn't that so cute? Well, let me show you, let me tell you how to do it right. You know, you almost have not only a pass, but like a, oh, that's cute, or like, oh, you know, I'll help you out kind of thing. I mean, specifically if you're American, everybody hates you and they don't want to help you, but that's obviously, that's just being an American. Any other foreigner situation, it's gonna tend to be more like, unless you're a tourist as well, because then, you know, obviously the anti-tourist sentiment is gonna kick in. There's a huge issue with United States soldiers stationed in Japan and tipping culture, because tipping in Japan is a grave insult. It's interesting, the little things that you pick up on. I made some stir fry the other night and it was really fucking good. And I like put the chopsticks into the food, and I was thinking about it as I did it. I was like, I am going to specifically put the chopsticks in sideways angle and not upright, partially because I know, I might do it on purpose sometime in my future. I might, if I serve someone in America rice and I'm trying to joke that I'm gonna kill them, I might put the sticks in upright. You're not supposed to put the sticks in to the rice sticking up. They took the Steak and Shake out of the airport? No. What happened to this country? What has happened to this great nation? I had a Japanese girlfriend who ran into trouble with restaurants over tipping. Isn't it because it resembles incense burners you use for funerals? I think that is the case. Like, because you stick incense upright. She didn't want me to tip them. You had a Japanese girlfriend who was like, no, you can't tip. And it's like, we're in America, babe. They're gonna be mad if I don't tip. They're gonna be so mad. I did that when I was living in Japan. Lamau, oh, sorry, I'm not Japanese, I didn't know. When it was actually, in fact, because of my ADHD traits. It does work. See? You can get away with being violently retarded if you are a foreigner. Like, you got it. Yeah, for $2.13 as a waiter or a server, they are gonna starve if you don't tip them. Oh goodness, I think that I might need to take a little bathroom break and fill up my water, because my water's empty. And then we've got like a couple more topics we could go into today. Alright, I'm gonna take a little bitty break. We should make tipping taboo, but we should make sure restaurants are forced to pay their staff a living wage before we just decide not to tip. Yeah, you're not gonna make structural change by just choosing not to tip. You're just a dickweed who's preventing someone from being able to feed their kids, most likely. Me, when Lux reads a joke I make that is funny but is too vulgar to read out loud. Yeah, I'm just like, not repeating you. Oh, God. With that being said, I refuse to accept them adding tipping when I'm getting counter service. I will not tip counter service. They will not get me on that. Right. Like I'm just buying something from you at the fucking Wendy's or whatever. Like, no. Like, absolutely not. I'm not gonna tip you. Are you kidding me? In fact, at Wendy's, you're more likely to be making a decent amount of money. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. Okay, let me find something from Hazan for you. I will let Granddad watch over you. If anyone comes to France, you can leave a few coins as a tip, but it's mainly in cafes and small restaurants. It's absolutely okay not to tip because we're all broke anyways. Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. There's an argument for never tipping in situations that are not traditionally tipped positions, so that employers can't get away with calling those positions tipped and thus lowering the wage. Yeah, like, yes, if the worker is a tipped worker, like a pizza delivery driver or a waitress, then yeah, you should tip them. But I agree, yeah, like, if it's a situation where, like, they're asking you to tip at McDonald's, that is a strong argument against tipping, even despite the fact that it doesn't make any sense to tip in that situation. In France, for example, if the bill is like $4.50 and you pay with a $5, you can leave the 50 cents change as a tip, and that wouldn't be weird, yeah. Okay, yes, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Something not about Israel, okay? How about something not about Israel? We can just continue this video that we started the other day. We got about 5 minutes into this video the other day. You know, they could pay their employees more. That's crazy talk, though. That's crazy talk. I don't know what you're saying. That's ridiculous. Okay, let me turn the volume up on this. Shika shika sha, shika shika sha.
Whether the economy is good. When I was introduced to this discourse, this seemed to be what people were arguing about with...
Cease and desist. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna leave you with Papa. Enjoy being with Papa. I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
The consensus sentiment from liberal thought leaders being that the economy is not only good, but it's extremely good, and that any viewpoint to the contrary is bad faith, borderline insane, or factually bankrupt. I found this peculiar because whether the economy is good or bad is, at minimum, a highly contestable question that turns as much on your ideological views about what makes an economy good as it does on various factual indicators. If we take a snapshot of the current economy and ask whether it is good or bad, certainly anyone with a conventional leftist views on the economics would say that it's bad. The welfare state is bad, unionization is low, public ownership is low, inequality is high. My point precisely. The negative assessment is not based on some pie-in-the-sky baseline for a good economy either. We hugely trail many of our developed nation peers on those metrics, nor is this baseline being opportunistically selected. The left spent 5 years lining up behind a Bernie Sanders campaign that had it at its core premise that an economy that looks like what we have right now is really awful. This is exactly what my framework is as well, just like Matt Brunig is saying here. My baseline is that 2016 sucked dog for many workers, and you have blinders on, or I guess these like rose-colored glasses on when you look back at 2016 thinking that it's much better, but it's not. If we look only at the recent changes in the economy, what we see is a very mixed bag. On the one hand, the recovery from the COVID recession has increased employment and compressed the wage schedule, both good things. This is true. On the other hand, the rollback of the COVID welfare state has seen free school meals eliminated, cash benefits for the poorest kids eliminated, 10 million people kicked off Medicaid, and the return of our completely dysfunctional unemployment benefit system. Bad things. The question of how exactly to combine these conflicting developments to generate a net assessment of recent changes presents the usual incommensurability problems and therefore heated debate. My simple attempt to net this all out by looking at recent developments in disposable income is presented in a graph below. This disposable income concept includes labor market and welfare state developments in it, but it does not fully settle the debate either. Here's the percent of individuals whose real disposable income increased or decreased from prior years. Since 2020 onwards, you have what, 55% or almost 60% of individuals whose real disposable income has decreased. This, by the way, is reflected in the K-shaped recovery that you saw in the midst of COVID, even with all of the money pumps that people got in the form of unemployment insurance and many other ways of taking off some of the financial burdens, like the freeze on student loan debt. So this is the political version of girl math. You think that factoring in the American welfare state is girl math? Every other OECD nation, and you look at their confidence in the government, you look at their social mobility, all factors that you have to consider, like neoliberal economists consider when looking at the American economy. Even the right-wing or conservative or capitalist, pro-capitalist guys, they're not even doing girl math. They just have a different metric of success, one that actually makes it seem like the situation is fine, no matter how dire it seems for many others. I think it's perfectly valid to make this assessment off of, putting in a labor market, welfare state developments, and adding in social safety nets and like what goes away from that social safety net, because ultimately that does factor into your calculation in the real world, just like student loan debt relief, or rather a payment pause factors into your disposable income. If you were paying $200, $300 a month to your student loan refinancer or whatever, and you no longer had to pay that for 2 years, you all of a sudden have $200 extra in your pocket to spend on other As I have proliferated this argument over the past few weeks, what I have found that people respond by changing the subject to questions 2 and 3. So they acknowledge that obviously social democrats must think the current economy is bad and must think that these recent welfare cuts were bad, but then say that these things are not Biden's fault, or that survey respondents who say the economy is bad are doing so for other reasons. These latter two questions are of much less interest to me, in large part because there's no real good way to argue about them. These two questions: did Joe Biden do a good job with the economy given political constraints, and why do people say the economy is bad when asked by survey takers? I've given an answer for both of these before. Joe Biden has done a decent job with the economy given political constraints. This much is true, but it's not enough, because what needs to happen is a seismic shift. That's precisely the reason why a lot of people wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, and a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters who then became like Elizabeth Warren supporters or whatever don't recognize that and have become like Democratic Party loyalists for some weird reason without ever really making an internal assessment of what changed in their mentality. If you were an advocate for social democratic principles in 2016, you came to the situation with the assessment that like the current metrics of success that we had at the time were not actually showcasing the situation on the ground. But this is a major answer to question number 3. Why do people say their perspective is that the economy is because if things cost more and you are not getting as much government assistance, and now you have to pay for more things, and on top of that, your wages have increased, but not by a lot, or at least increased recently, but was decreasing dramatically in comparison to the inflation for like 2 years out of the 4, then yeah, of course you could be like, no, I remember when it sucked really bad and now it sucks a little bit less. Looking at it and going, people don't understand that like prices don't go down. They always go up. That's inflation. If prices went down, that would be deflation. We would be in a recession. That's significantly worse or whatever, is also a stupid assessment on the matter. Yeah, it plays a role in explaining why people are always upset about the economy, okay? But it doesn't matter. The genius of a government with so many veto points is that it's impossible to assign blame or credit to anyone for almost anything, because no single person or government body is sufficient cause of most government actions. In practice, what this means is that partisans credit the president for everything that passes, even though he cannot unilaterally pass anything, but do not blame him for anything that fails to pass because, after all, he cannot unilaterally pass anything. As to what motivates survey response, it's clear enough that a lot of survey responding is expressive in the sense that people don't attempt to answer the question that is presented to them, but instead consciously or subconsciously use the question as a proxy for things like, do you like the president? Or how do you feel about the state of the country? Or similar. The funniest example of this I've seen that shortly after Biden was elected, the percent
Hopefully
of...
you enjoyed being entertained by Hassan for a few minutes. Hello. Oh, we're at 69 likes. Nice. I'm curious, like, how much do you guys even pay attention to him versus how much are you guys just chatting with yourselves? No worries, don't ooh my OO. I'm doing it only because it's funny. My mind does not process his words. Yeah, to be clear, I'm messing up my own YouTube recommendations by putting on Hassan during our streams, like, because I don't ever actually watch his content. I was talking about Naomi. True. Naomi's the best. Nominal Naomi just posted that she was disowned by her parents for being trans. Oh. Is it like a thing that happened a while ago and she's just now talking about it? Or was it like they recently... Oh, that sucks. Ah. That's a bummer. Which is crazy because she's clearly been on hormones and stuff for a long time. So I'm curious if she only just told them. I don't know. I don't want to like... I'm curious, but I'll read it off stream. I don't want to, like... That feels weird to talk about it, even though it's fresh, and I know everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's fresh news. I'll read it later. But I'm not gonna go over Nominal Naomi's personal issues. Okay. Well, that sucks. Feel bad for her. Okay, don't eat Hassan anymore. Go away, Hassan. 42 viewers, 69 likes. Listen, I don't think it could get more nice than that. Unless it was 420 and 690, but that's a different, you know. All good, everybody. So we have this Riley Gaines thing. Let's talk about this Riley Gaines sports thing. 42 mil, 69 mil, ultimate nice. Let's not imagine having 42 million viewers. That sounds bad. That sounds real bad. I think it would be nice if someday I got one single play button from YouTube, which I think means 100,000 subs. I don't think that it's going to happen, but I am surely going to keep posting between 1 to 3 videos per day and try to make it happen. $69 million dono, true. I'm just going to immediately, like, just put... Well, you can't put all of that in a savings account because it's only insured up to a certain amount. What do you do if someone gives you $69 million? Because you have to keep a good chunk of it for taxes reasons, you know? Like, particularly if it's an electronic payment, like there's no way to hide that from taxes. Spend it all at once? No! Yeah. Interesting thoughts. Going to the bars? True. I guess you have to open, like, a bunch of different bank accounts because they're only insured up to a certain amount. Or maybe... Ooh, I wonder if rich people have special bank accounts that are insured for more than what other bank accounts will do. Yes, accounts in Panama. Exactly. My Swedish bank account. Be like Todd. Oops, I tipped the waitress $8 million. Guess I'm broke again. Wah, wah. Isn't Todd so funny? 45 viewers. What's up? Okay. So, Riley Gaines is the girl who I believe tied 5th place with Leah Thomas, who, you know, everybody complains all the time, oh, trans girls in sports. Like, okay, you wouldn't have gone up in placement even because you tied for 5th place, but whatever. She's now made it her job to talk about trans people all the time, and she is now elected to make it her business to basically, like, ruin the future potential, like, possibilities of a trans teenager. So we have this girl who has been playing, like, volleyball, I think, and she was revealed to be trans despite the fact that she has been stealth for, like, years. Like, she's the ideal version. She's the ideal version of a trans person who came out when they were, like, 4 years old or whatever, and has never had testosterone in her body, like, just completely, like, every step of the way being supported in her transition. The school doesn't know. Nobody knows. And we're now in the business, apparently, of exploiting these teenagers and telling the world about their past, even when it is completely irrelevant. And Riley Gaines, of course, she's going on about, oh, we rescinded the scholarship from the male vying to play with the women. Sources say the coaches had no idea he is a male. He and his family concealed his sex throughout the entering recruiting process. The power of public opinion and accountability. Like, just... how can you say that this person is male in any meaningful fashion? If this person has been... She did participate in a documentary about trans people, like, 5 years ago. Okay, so I guess she's not, like, completely stealth, like, forever, like, in every situation, this trans girl, but she was stealth at the school, at the very minimum. And then University of Washington, like, I don't know why University of Washington, of all places, would revoke her scholarship, but they rescinded the scholarship So I don't know how big of a scholarship it was. Maybe it was a small one, so it doesn't matter that much. But this is just one of those ways in which trans people are denied opportunity. Like, this girl is decent at volleyball enough to have gotten a scholarship. You know, she's a very typical, just like, white blonde girl. Okay? She doesn't seem particularly special. As far as I have seen, there's nothing, it's not like she's setting records or anything. She is just participating in the sport. And that is egregious enough to people that even though she has done everything right, that they ontologically believe that if you are born male, you are male, you have an unfair advantage, or that you are somehow ruining things for real women. And so, yeah, we are denied educational opportunities. We're denied job opportunities because it's going to be harder for her to be able to play on a professional team if she's unable to play during college, for example. Like, I don't know, is she even still going to go to U Washington, or is she going to decide not to? Because why would you want to keep going to the school that decided to rescind? Hopefully some other school that's chill will, like, offer her a decent scholarship and admit her. Yeah, exactly. There is no acceptable trans person to these people. We're all going on the wall. Like, it does not... The Blair Whites out there, like, it doesn't matter. They believe in... Like, I keep saying ontological, and then I keep like second guessing myself, and then I have to Google what it means. It means, like, they believe that there is some metaphysical quality to individuals that makes them intrinsically male or female, and they will shift the goalposts as to what that specifically is. Oh, it's chromosomes. Oh, it's whether you're able to give birth. Like, oh, it's whether you have the body system that denotes that you're able to give birth. Like, they will just keep shifting it around because ultimately, like, it isn't a scientific belief. It is a metaphysical belief. And because it's not based in any, like, facts, that it's just discriminatory, completely unnecessarily discriminatory. Katie Montgomery calls it the magic sexed soul. Yeah, it's a soul belief. Like, oh, you are what God made you. Like, okay, well, God apparently made me transsexual because that's what I am. So, but that's not what they mean. They don't ever mean that. You have to be able to do the fitness gram pacer test. Yeah, TERFs have proved that it's never about men pretending to be women. Yeah, they will pretend as though it's this thing where they're trying to protect women from, well, I mean, kind of, it is still that. I mean, they say, oh, it's about preventing men from trying to get into women's spaces to hurt them, right? Like, I think that that's kind of what you're referring to. But ultimately what this is believing that trans women are men pretending to be women and thus denying real women opportunities. Like, that is another facet to this. It's not just, oh, we believe that men are pretending to be women in order to be sexually creepy in women's bathrooms or whatever. They do also genuinely believe, apparently, that regardless of any amount of how long you've been trans, how much you don't have a biological advantage, quote unquote, which we don't really see bearing out anyway, like, it's just bigotry. Like, it's just ontological bigotry. We do love how they accuse trans people of being so hostile too. And it's like, okay, well, this is what we're dealing with. This is the environment that we're in. Yeah, and in this instance, because well, I don't know if she's like 17 or 18, something like that. So assuming that she's 17, then yes, this particular situation is predicated on the idea that she, a child at this point, is a predator and she's malicious and she's stealing opportunities from real women who are more deserving of her. Yeah. I mean, they've been dehumanizing our children this entire time, you know. any of the infantilization of trans youth, claiming that they don't know very basic facts about themselves, that they, you know, if they show repeatedly and demonstrably for a number of years that they're persistent and consistent with their identities, that they just can never be believed, because there apparently is no such thing as a trans person until they turn 18. I had someone in my comments recently saying that they also believe that there is no such thing as a gay person until the age of 18. I'm just like, wow. How does it feel to have just come out of the closet? Like, apparently you just decided to repress. Protect the children from the bad children. Yeah, like, I repeatedly using male pronouns, calling her male, like, it is on some level trying to make her seem predatory. What's up, Cheez-It? You spaced out. We're talking about Riley Gaines being a shitheel. What it's about is about cis TERFs protecting their privileged social status, and they believe that transness, bringing gender into question, is an existential threat to their limited access to wealth within patriarchy. Perhaps. Moving from calling trans kids dumb victims to calling them predators is a marked increase in dangerous rhetoric. Yeah, I guess this does sort of represent a change. Again, we're assuming that this girl is 17. Like, she has a scholarship from a college, so she could be 18, and it's like, I don't know, like, she's definitely a youth and is vulnerable in that way. So I guess you could say it doesn't really matter that she's not a minor, that this is still, like, going after someone who is vulnerable, fundamentally. Riley's barely 2 years older than me. It scares me that this fascist rhetoric is continuing into my generation. You know, we can hope and assume that it's less common and that these people are mostly doing it because it's profitable. Like, it certainly doesn't bode well for the future of American culture that people, you know, younger than me are being either duped into this or are genuinely just this bigoted. And again, as always, the idea that women are inherently worse at sports and the fact that these women have totally bought into that, it just means that they've completely bought into the idea of male supremacy, even though, again, statistically, if you provide the same quality of coaches and equipment and training, there's barely any difference. There's really genuinely barely any difference. But people like Riley, women like Riley, would rather believe that she is fundamentally inferior, or she will pretend to believe that she is fundamentally inferior so that she can build a career on that. And listen, it's hard to get a hold of money, and I bet there's a lot of money in this grift, so I guess I can't blame you. Being a leftist sure doesn't pay off that much. That's an interesting question, Christy. How are any of these people going to find any work in the future when the grift is no longer profitable? I don't know. Is the grift ever not going to be profitable? We'll have to see. More water. Really? Ann Coulter recently argued that women should no longer be allowed to vote. Oh my goodness. Hey, there's 50 viewers in here. And wow, look at that. We got to 72 likes. Amazing. We love that. Thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already looked at the merch store, you might check out some stuff over there and see if there's anything you like. And you can also check out my Patreon, because there's special promo deals, special promo codes, and exclusive content. Here's my plan. 1, get bottom surgery. 2, say I'm FTM. 3, say I'm detransitioning. 4, do the grift, make a shitload of cash. And 5, retire to life as a cis woman. True. You've already got too many pictures of yourself on the internet to do that. You've ruined your plan by posting nudes. Uh. Oh, there's still just the tiniest little bit of coffee left in my cup. Delicious. I pray that it fizzles out just like the alpha male grift did. I just want to see shitheels like Riley or Blair on the streets. Not really, because no trans person deserves poverty. I mean, yeah. I just wish that hate wasn't so profitable. It sucks. And it's like almost not anyone's fault that like not any of these people. Is it Riley Gaines' fault that it happens to be the easiest and best way for her to make money right now? It's pretty shit. But, you know, the market dynamics exist that create outrage profit. And, like, I saw that Tate is back. He's out of prison now, and he's posting. He was like, I don't fuck women who've gotten the vaccine. And everybody's like, it's working, guys. Yeah. I don't know if he's influential still. Like, I wonder how many young boys and men out there were, like, just waiting for him to get back to making content after he went to prison. Obviously, the algorithm will have naturally filtered him out somewhat, because, like, again, these platforms all prioritize daily posting. You have to be a shitty person to be making money off of bigotry. Yeah, I'm not going to argue the point, for sure. Hate, war, and misery are annoyingly profitable. Drama is profitable. Negativity is profitable. Is he still not in prison? I thought that he was released. He posted a really professional-looking photo. I guess it could have been an old photo, but I thought that I just saw someone... Hold on, I'm sorry. I guess it might have been an old photo, but it seemed like, okay, video of Andrew Tate working out from 8 hours ago on Tate News. Like, is that old content? I guess it could be. IDK, my BFF Jill. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Andrew Tate was being held in jail for a while, but they had to release him after they maxed out their hold extensions. So he's... There's like a maximum amount of time that you can be in jail prior to your trial. So he's been released. So it's the equivalent of someone having paid his bail in the US. He's just like... He's free to walk around, but probably not free to leave the country. I was going to put money on it. Empire's in decline, so the goal of the grift is to scapegoat a group of people to either polarize the public against said group to misdirect action away from confronting capitalism and or to create a disenfranchised subservient case to keep the capitalist machine alive. History's repeating, but more like echoing instead of reenacting. We certainly do have a disenfranchised subservient case to, like, all, you know, they do need there to be a domestic supply of workers. I remember he was faking having cancer in jail and was like, I need to see my doctor in UAE. There's no other way. And notably, UAE and Romania don't have extradition treaties. So, Lamau, do some research, Tate. Come on, get good, son. Do some research. I do remember that. There was, like, allegedly some spot of something in his lung. Which would kind of make sense because of the cigars, but I don't know. You're not really supposed to breathe in a cigar. Cigars tend to create, like, a mouth and throat cancer kind of situation, and not as much of a lung cancer situation. The idea was that he would flee to UAE, and then they couldn't extradite him back to Romania. Oh, so he'd just flee the country. Oh, I see. I see what you mean. Not having extradition treaty. Got it. Got it. He was like, oh, I'm just gonna go to this other country where you will not be able to extradite me back. And they're like, Lamau, we can provide you with the healthcare that you need. I wish cancer on bad people. If that's bad, so be it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I take a little bit more of a, like, if something bad happened to you, then good. rather than like, I hope something bad happens to you more often. But I mean, I totally understand the impulse. Can't blame you at all. 75 likes. Can we get there? It's not showing that. It's showing me 74. If I've already passed that number, I'm sorry. Okay. So we've talked about most of our important issues for today. I decided that I don't really want to talk about croquet. I don't really care about croquet, like, at all. So instead, we have one thing that's a video we're going to respond to and react to a video. And that's going to be fun. And it'll let me rest my voice a little bit. But basically, we only have one major, like, story thing. Not story thing, Jesus. We only have one major politics segment planned. Okay, I am going to here, and I'm clicking, and I'm finding the links. We're gonna watch a TikTok. But I don't want you to play yet.
So the role of the Democrats in the current system is to intentionally
Oh gosh
lose.
darn it, hold on.
I hope you'll let me explain, because as we navigate the tricky intersectional ethics of
now
the upcoming
pause, thank you. Amazing. So he goes pretty quick. He kind of just like goes real quick in this one, so we might have to pause it pretty often and go over it. That'll be fun. Save the croquet and Irish dancing for the inevitable next thing trans women apparently have an advantage at, and then do a segment for all three. You can batch these up. There's so many. I know, that's what I mean. It's like there's no point in talking about it. What's up, Anarcho Plural? What's up? Welcome. And what's up, Igor? Yeah, it's just like, why? Why would I bother to talk about it? There's gonna be something, it's chess, or it's fucking darts, or it's dancing, or it's croquet. Like, I'm gonna say the same thing over and over again. It's just bigotry. It's not about any actual scientific basis of blah, blah, blah. It's just ontological bigotry and discrimination. Like, I can only say the same thing over and over again so many times. My phone is in need of charging. No worries. Enjoy. Have fun out there. Y'all, seriously, thanks for hanging out. It's such a chill time. I get to bitch and complain. And, like, we get to talk about, like, fun future planning stuff. It's amazing. And I like bouncing ideas off you guys and showing off my crochet nonsense. It's a good time. Someday I might have to start a second channel where I just silently sit there and crochet. And, like, it's not so much of a politics and talking. Oh, goodness. I am due for a haircut. Need to wash my hair, and probably I'm gonna cut my hair this week. So look forward to me having like a fresh buzz soon, and then continuing to have a shaggy mess in the back. Which soon I'm gonna probably bleach this in the back, and then dye it like hot fucking pink or something. I don't know, probably like bright orange maybe. I haven't decided yet. Maybe we should vote. Maybe my Patreon or something should get to vote on what color I dye my hair. But I definitely don't want to just leave it blonde back there, so... Ha ha ha! Join the Patreon if you want to know. Is hot orange cultural appropriation? How? Okay. I need my headphones for this next part. Don't throw stuff on the floor. Okay, good. I feel like, I've been kind of complaining about the Democrats a little bit, and I complain about Biden, and I whinge about how I don't really feel like I should have to vote for him because I live in Kansas and it doesn't matter if I vote for a Democrat here. And Do you ever feel like you're watching the Democrats do something and you feel like, I don't understand why you're doing what you're doing? You're like, I don't understand. I wish that I understood why you are seemingly trying to fail. Like, why are you doing none of the things that you promised to do? Or like, why are you doing this thing that the Republicans want to do? Just constantly, why are you not raising the minimum wage? They decided based on some random person being appointed that they couldn't even talk about the federal minimum wage when Biden first got into office. Like, you know what I mean? He's been in office for like 3 years, and there has been absolutely no conversation about the federal minimum wage. And groceries cost like almost twice as much this year as they did last year. So, yeah. Anyway, we've been wondering, like, that's part of where my frustration comes from. And I'm sure a lot of you have the same frustration where you're like, you're just sitting there going, what are you doing? Like, you don't understand their behavior. Like, it's maddening. Why? Why? So we're going to listen to this guy explain it. What is your name? This guy's channel is called Watchful Coyote over on TikTok, and this is the only video of his I've ever seen, and we're going to enjoy it and react to it together. So strap in.
So the role of the Democrats in the current system is to intentionally lose. I hope you'll let me explain, because as we navigate the tricky intersectional ethics of the upcoming 2024 election and beyond, it's important that we begin to understand this in our bones.
Okay, so just to be clear, that is... Do I need to take him down to 0.75 speed? Maybe I need to take him down to 0.75, because he just goes on so fast. That was 10 seconds. And he said, here's my thesis. The Democrats are trying to lose. Like, basically. Insane as it is, all sorts of people blame Biden for grocery prices. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's all ridiculous and complicated. Democrats are just a very mild form of damage control at this point. Yeah.
50 years ago, the U.S. had two political parties, Republicans and Democrats, and both had genuine public support, and both platforms held some public appeal. And then the right wing realized that there was unimaginable money to be made from corporate campaign funding. So they abandoned their entire platform and dedicated themselves completely to allowing the exploitation of the environment and the working class to give every single penny to the ultra-rich. Paid really well, but there was no way they were going to win elections with that as a platform because it amounted to a giant middle finger to the working class and their voter base. So they needed to mobilize a new voter base. They looked at a few options and settled on evangelical fundamentalist Christians who were previously pretty apolitical.
Yeah, so it's, you know how the Republican Party didn't used to be insane? They made a deliberate choice to be insane so that they could get away with, like, primarily just doing things that work with corporate funding, you know? What's up, Spiral? Welcome to the website. Hello. Welcome in. Yeah, and he goes into this. He goes into detail more of, like, what kind of things the Republican Party has changed on in the years since, like, Reagan, I guess. Like, you know, at what point did we start focusing more on making huge amounts of money? And by that, like, yeah, we're going to focus on the lobbying and not really worry about the policies.
In order to buy their votes, the Republican Party turned on a dime in the 1980s and became rabidly pro-life. Before this, the Republicans were openly pro-choice because abortion is a personal right, and they were the party advocating personal rights. This marked the start of the modern culture wars, where the right invents boogeymen to terrify their base into ignoring the fact that their entire platform is basically steal all your money and give it to the rich, while destroying the environment we live in.
Yeah, let's steal all your money while destroying the environment. Like, if you look at what these parties actually do, you don't have to read their platform. You can deduce what their actual platform is by looking at all of their behaviors. You can infer, based on what they do, what it is that they want to do. And that is repeatedly, like for Republicans, give their rich buddies tax cuts, you know, make policy that requires, you know, infrastructure changes that happen to only benefit this, like, one particular manufacturer. The GOP has literally decided to go full fascist and get rid of democracy completely. I mean, yeah, because democracy is not profitable. They can't keep making money if they have to worry about campaigning. Campaigning costs money. If you don't need to campaign anymore, then there's no need to spend money on it. Like, you get to just concentrate power, concentrate money.
The Democrats quickly followed suit, starting with Clinton. They also abandoned any actual representation of their base for corporate cash grabs, including massively lucrative arms deals and warmongering in order to funnel billions through the Pentagon into their corporate funders' pockets. So the only two major political parties in the most powerful country in the history of the world both completely sold out to corporate interests some 30 to 40 years ago, which has led to an ever-widening gap between public opinion and legislation. For example...
Yeah, like I was reading recently that there was a staffer, speaking about the Israel-Palestine thing, there was a staffer recently that said it's, there's always a difference between the public opinion and what's going on within the congressional body, but this is like the greatest schism that this particular person has seen. And I'm like, why is it normal for there to be a gap between what is popular in public opinion versus what is happening in the congressional body? The whole fucking point is that it's a representational democracy. You're supposed to have like a representative who then votes the way that you want them to. So why should there be a difference between public opinion and what's going on in the Congress? And it's fundamentally telling you that the system is broken. I mean, maybe it's working completely as intended because, the power is being siphoned up and up and up, and maybe someone was really thinking ahead on that one and did it on purpose, but maybe it is just an exploit of the system. So it happens that we wanted it to be representative democracy, but the ways in which we have been trying to formulate that can be twisted around, like the gerrymandering, right? And then, all you have to do is like appoint a conservative judge who wants more conservatives to be pushed through, and then they'll just like not be critical of conservatives. They'll put more conservatives on. They'll rule this way more conservatively, and then like in a way that ends up making, again, a few rich people even richer. I have to explain this to liberals in my family a lot. They're only capable of viewing every issue individually and taking politicians at their word on their motivations. Yeah, but yeah, again, so this guy, he's going to continue outlining, like, what are they trying to actually accomplish? Do their actions make more sense if you reframe what their actual goal is?
Polling shows that some 70% of Americans have wanted some form of universal health care for decades, but it's barred from even being seriously discussed. Citizens of the U.S. are shockingly aligned on most major issues. We all want the rich to pay taxes, not to watch our neighbors and families die from easily preventable medical issues, living wages, fair elections, breathable air, and not bombing of babies. Corporations want the exact opposite, or more accurately, they want the record-breaking profits they can extract from the opposite. This creates a real quandary for both Republicans and Democrats alike. How do you continue to get votes while aggressively working against everything your voters want?
That's an amazing question. Like, how do you win elections if your goal is to do a bunch of stuff that is counterintuitive to what people actually want? And usually we go, oh yeah, it's gerrymandering. And like, oh, it's this, and it's closing the polling stations. Like, it's more insidious than you think.
You already know the answer. They stage a farce where they pretend to be bitter enemies, and like any abuser, they both claim that they are the only ones who can keep you safe from the other. The Republicans pretend that they are the only thing preventing straight white Christians from being hunted for sport by hordes of black and brown trans drug dealers screaming pronouns and making up new genders.
True.
The Democrats pretend that they are the only ones who can save you from the coal-guzzling fascists literally storming the Capitol. The fact that one boogeyman is totally fictional and the other is very real doesn't change their tactical exploitation and the presentation of themselves as your only hope at all. And they've gotten really good at this dance.
I think that's an interesting point. It's like, I think that folks keep hammering in this idea that we really need to make sure to vote for the Democrats because if the Republicans get in power, then they're going to do such and such. And, he's pointing out that just because one of the claims being made, where like, the Republicans are claiming that the Democrats want to eradicate Republicans. Not the case. Democrats are claiming that Republicans want to use our democracy. They actually do. But like in this particular system, tactically, it doesn't matter whether or not either of those threats are real because they're both being used to create this like, oh, I'm your only hope. Like Leia, or like Luke, you're my only hope, whatever. Fucking, I can't do references this late in the stream. I'm too hungry. Where are my BIPOC trans drug dealers at? True. This topic bums me out too much to watch at the moment, but I wanted to pop in and say hi real quick and say hi. I hope to catch more streams. Got suggested you by YouTube. Thank you. I'm so glad. that you stopped by. So I stream on Sundays starting at noon Central, and on Wednesday evenings starting at like 4 o'clock Central in the afternoon. So, hey, join us next time. Also, if you want to subscribe, I post videos like every single day on the channel. So I will eat. I ate before stream, but now it's been 3.5 hours, and I'll eat afterwards. I'll do it later. Welcome in, Hermione. Okay, I'm just gonna drink more water. Whee!
They do a great job at it now. They look genuinely enraged at each other as they denounce the other side of the aisle, while all of them vote unanimously for the same tax cuts for the rich and bloated military budgets.
Dude.
And genocides that line their funders' pockets.
True.
The Republicans have it easy. Their platform of culture war has no relationship to their corporate funders, so when they get into office, they can do most of what they say they will. They'll criminalize abortion, defund social services, cut taxes, but only on the rich, never for you, institute a brutal police state, terrorize immigrants.
Oh my God, taxes. I was looking up, like, has the tax policy changed under Biden yet? Like, are the taxes going to suck less next year? Because last year they sucked so bad.
LGBTQ people. The Democrats have a real problem, though. Their nominal platform is at odds with their corporate sponsors, so they do the only logical thing from that position. They intentionally lose. Every time they make a catch, win an election, they intentionally fumble the ball. We're all so used to seeing this farcical dance that we can't even really register it anymore, but the Democrats have had the Senate, House, and presidency simultaneously multiple times in the last few decades.
I've been saying this. People keep going, oh, the Democrats, you gotta keep voting for the Democrats. But it's like, fucking why? Even when they have all the power. They have both houses, like they have the House and the Senate and the fucking presidency, and they don't do anything. Like, what? Why? Like the Biden impeachment, it's all about obfuscation. It doesn't matter that Trump's impeachment has merit and Biden's doesn't. The discourse is simply, oh yeah, well, Biden is being impeached too. They do not have the House. I'm not saying now. I'm saying in the last, like on the screen here, he's saying in the last few decades. In the last few decades, like with Roe, you know? People keep saying like, oh, you know, we need to vote for Democrats because whatever, blah, 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 abortion, right? They kept campaigning on the idea that they were going to enshrine Roe versus Wade into law. And over the last few decades, in the 50 years since Roe was originally made into precedent, they've had numerous opportunities to be like passing this law that they keep claiming that they're going to do, right? So, but they've exploited us by being like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Just keep voting for us. Just keep donating to us. We'll do this thing. And then they just keep not doing it because obviously if they do it, like, first of all, that might be against whatever interests they're actually serving. But also they can't keep campaigning on it and saying, donate to us. Like, the donations to Democrats went up dramatically right after Roe v. Wade was destroyed because a bunch of them used it as a campaign opportunity to be like, yo, if you donate money to me now, then we'll win the next election and we will fight back on Roe. We will pass legislation. Like, bro, it's all just silly. It's all just silliness at this point.
Decades. At any one of those times, they could have actually made change. They could have codified Roe versus Wade. They could have passed legislation eliminating all student debt. They could have cut military spending, taxed the rich, passed universal health care. They could have capped emissions and maintained a livable environment. Our country and world could be very, very different than it is. It really doesn't have to be like this. But if they did those things, they would then gain massive public support and actually run the country, but they would lose all their corporate funding. So that's not actually what they want. So they keep this incredibly fragile balance, where since the Clinton years, where the Democrats sold out, the balance of power has been carefully maintained at almost exactly 50-50.
Yeah, you know, it's not just the Democrats, or sorry, it's not just the Republicans gerrymandering that is like maintaining this perfect 50-50 balance. If the Republicans gerrymandering, if their goal was to have an overwhelming majority, they would have an overwhelming majority at this point. Like, it's been carefully crafted at 50-50, and I could believe that it is intentional on both of their parts to keep it just exactly at this level where nobody can actually fucking accomplish anything. Yeah.
Giving both parties the ability to point the finger and blame the other for not getting anything done. It didn't used to be like that. The party that better represented the will of the population used to just win and then do what the people wanted. Like the 75th Congress, some 90 years ago, was 344 to 88. Because the Democrats, who held the 344, maintained a 95% tax on the rich.
That's crazy. like 344 members versus what, like 88 members? It turns out that if Democrats actually do the things that they're supposed to do, like, and when they were in power and they were doing those things, it was like a cyclical thing. They were in power because they were doing the things that people wanted to do. They were reliably doing the things that they had been voted into place to do, and they were like, okay, cool, you know? And so they kept winning, and they kept doing the things people were asking for, but that's not profitable. Doing what people want you to do for their betterment of their lives is not profitable, and that's the fundamental problem with the whole thing.
Rich and actually subsidize social services and education. If today's Democrats simply adopted the platform of their own party from 90 years ago, they would win every election in a landslide, but they actively don't want to win. For many of us millennials, this was really driven home by the 2016 election cycle. Polls were crystal clear. In every single poll, Bernie Sanders beat Trump by double digits and Hillary Clinton lost to Trump. The DNC pulled out all the stops. They lied, cheated, stole so much in order to force Sanders out and put Clinton up as the candidate that it was impossible not to see it. It looked insane to many of us. We felt crazy. I remember literally watching them
I wasn't like a Bernie bro at the time, so I don't know. Like, I'm not really sure. I know that they really did him dirty, but it's like, yeah, was it because they just wanted Hillary to lose? Was it because, yeah, because again, the corporate interests, if Bernie Sanders wins and he actually helps things become less corporatized, less industrialized, we try to pass legislation that's going to help the environment, that is going to hurt profits. And so Democrats who are friends with these people who make a lot of money off of the climate being all out of control, like, you know, their, you know, endless production of goods and services that are harmful to the environment, like, it is their incentive to prevent Bernie from getting in. So again, I wasn't really paying that close of attention to this specifically at the time, but it would make sense to me perfectly that this was intentional. 2016 was my first election, and seeing the way that all went down pushed me left so fast. Yeah, I feel like the past 7 years have been a fever dream. Like, I don't really remember the details of what was going on in 2016. It was a bad time for me personally. Later, mama. Enjoy. Have fun on the plane.
Sanders delegates out for asking questions that they didn't want to answer at the Democratic National Convention in Maine. I remember watching them shut down polling places where Sanders had strong leads. All the things that the MAGA thinks happened in the 2020 election, the DNC literally did and didn't even bother to hide in 2016. They were taken to court for it, and they didn't even deny that they rigged the primary. They just said, hey, we're a private company. We're under zero obligation to run fair elections. We can nominate whoever we want. The voting is just a farce. That was their legal argument, and they won with it.
Put in game theory terms, their stated win state is different than their actual win state. They win via billions in corporate blood money, even while losing elections and selling the country into fascism. Yeah, their stated win state is different than their actual win state. Later, Cheez-It. Enjoy.
I remember hearing people scream at the DNC officials, do you want to lose? And slowly understanding that, yeah, that was exactly what they wanted. They would literally rather lose with Clinton than win with Sanders. Because when they lose, they can then say, gosh darn it, we tried, but they won this round. Please donate more. They get to look like the good guys who keep trying but just keep getting beaten down by the forces of fascism and racism and hate. As losers, they're noble victims. But when they win, they have real problems, like what we're seeing now with Biden, where they have to try and hide the fact that they are also the forces of fascism and racism and hate.
More precisely, they are conscious accomplices to and proxies for the forces of corporate fascism and lucrative hate. This is what I've been trying to say for a while. Like, this is what I understand the phrase "cut a liberal and you'll see a fascist bleed" means, is they pretend to be ideologically opposed to the fascism and the authoritarianism and the hatred and the bigotry and stuff, but they are profiting off of those things. And it's really unbelievable at this point. You know, you can't say that you care about racism and police brutality and fucking increase police budgets across the country. Like, you just can't. You can't do that. You know, it's so obvious at this point. It's painfully obvious that there is no party of the people at this point. This dude looks like my American ex, so I want to hate him, but he's not saying anything wrong, so I can't. Rip. So sorry.
If Trump had won, he'd likely be doing the exact same thing, but it would be normal. We'd all expect it, and the DNC would fundraise like crazy. When a Democrat commits genocide, though, we're supposed to see it as atypical. Unflinchingly committing genocide is supposed to read as, oh, a little oopsie from an otherwise ethical, humanitarian, democratic leader.
Yeah.
The fact that the Republican platform doesn't interfere with their corporate interests and therefore they can enact the policies they promise to, while the Democrats have to constantly appear to fumble and fail in their oh-so-genuine efforts to create change has...
That's what I mean, again, about the Senate parliamentarian. The Senate parliamentarian who allegedly was the reason that they can't even entertain a bill about increasing the federal minimum wage. Do you guys remember that shit? Like, they just had to pretend like they couldn't do anything.
Of course, led to the rightward drift of U.S. politics over the last decades, to the point where Republican elected officials are now openly saying out loud that we should kill all Palestinians, while the House just voted near unanimously that anyone who says we should not commit genocide must be anti-Semitic. That shift is noteworthy. If any politician had stood up and publicly said that we should kill all of a given race 50 years ago, they would have rightfully been called a Nazi and lost all public credulity. Today, that's accepted on the floor of a state house, while opposing genocide is condemned and literally censured. That's pretty intense, and it's like that across the board. The only thing that matters in political discourse is controlling the parameters of the narrative. What is outside the bounds on each side? If you control...
This is the Overton window he's explaining, like the bookends of what is normal to talk about. So, like, you know, if the world were normal, then the normal window would be like, you know, on one end we're discussing paying more taxes to schools, and on the other end we're talking about paying more taxes to the military, right? Sure, that's like a, you know, somewhere in the middle. That's like a normal conversation. But like it's being pulled more this direction, where it's like more money for schools doesn't ever get talked about, and it's not only more money for the military, but it's like money to specifically go to a country that is causing genocide. Like, you know, it's drifted away, where we're talking about, like, how much money do we give to the military, and never talking about how much money we're giving to the schools. Oh gosh, my voice is so tired.
Control these two bookends, then the content of what is said in between them becomes wholly irrelevant. Both bookends have been steadily shifting to the right for a long time, to the point where now right-wing politicians openly advocate ethnic cleansing, and left-wing politicians just quietly fund ethnic cleansing. And anything to the left of funding ethnic cleansing is literally censured.
Yep.
Remember how 100 years ago the Democrats controlled like 80% of Congress and they taxed the rich at 95% in a way that gave the U.S. the strongest economy in the history of the world? Now, if any elected official is crazy enough to suggest that the rich should pay any taxes at all, they're labeled as communists and laughed out of the room. So I paid more taxes than Jeff Bezos last year. The cost of living's through the roof, federal minimum wage is still $7.25, and we're watching our tax dollars bomb babies. But the Democrats, who are currently the ones bombing babies, are our saviors. And if we just vote for them a little bit more, then they'll save us all.
How are they supposed to be our saviors? Yeah, when they are doing the shit that we don't want them to be doing, like that we don't want any of these people to be doing. How are they supposed to protect anybody? Yeah, I love that as a Jew, my views in America are deemed anti-Semitic, when in reality, I am against the genocide of those that live on and share a sacred area of land and protect my Palestinian brothers. Right. Like, plenty of Jewish folks in America are anti-Zionist, and being anti-Zionist is now being equivocated with being anti-Semitic, and therefore, like, a bunch of Jewish people are allegedly anti-Semitic now? No.
Most notable in all of this is that if anyone speaks up who actually represents the will of the American people, they're mocked and driven out of the conversation. So people like Claudia de la Cruz or Cornel West are effectively barred from any presence in the mainstream media, or if they are covered, it's as an anomaly and immediately condemned as stealing votes from the real candidates. Notice that framing. It's not that Biden or Trump are losing through their complete failure to represent anything like what the people want. It's that anyone who represents what the people want is stealing votes from them.
Yeah, like they're entitled to the votes is part of the feeling that you have. Like that if you're a progressive, Biden is entitled to your vote is part of what has created this problem here.
I'd like to understand the mechanisms and expressions of this political narrative of control better. I can't recommend Chomsky enough. Since reading his masterwork, Manufacturing Consent, a Propaganda Model of the Media, I have never seen the world the same way. That book is dense, but he covers the same content in a much more digestible fashion in the 1988 CBC Massey lectures titled Necessary Illusions, which is also in print as a book by the same name. But that's a 4-hour lecture set from 35 years ago, and it's worth every second. But don't take my word for it. Just watch and look at the track record. If the Democrats wanted to win...
He says, before you start commenting about how we have to vote for Biden to avoid fascism, please watch the previous vid, Psst, Democrats, and also consider how continuing to support Democrats is what is leading toward the right wing, leading to the rightward drift towards fascism.
They'd do what 75% of the country wants and stop funding genocide and enact a ceasefire. But they're doing the exact opposite, and it may very well have the effect of putting Trump back into office. As you watch that play out, or whatever the next scenario is where the Democrats fail or look wildly inept, just remember this video and compare what you're seeing to the idea that they want to lose. If they wanted to win, we all know how they could. They're not doing that. So ask yourself what priorities would lead to their actual ineffective course of action and whether those priorities align with yours, your neighbors, and those of everyone who wants a safe, livable world.
Yeah. Yep. It's like he was just spitting bars the whole time. What the hell are we supposed to do then? I'm not saying I have the answers, okay? Like, I'm sure what you are going to do is vote for Biden. It's probably still the best harm reduction option, but it also means that you need to be campaigning for, like, a ranked voting system. Or, like, showing up to people's houses and getting pissed off and, like bothering them in restaurants and stuff. Like, what I'm trying to demonstrate with this is that what is happening now is not working. And this is the beginning of, like, we need to start having some conversations about what else we're going to do. You know? Like, I don't have the answer for what the hell we're supposed to do. I think the thing that we're supposed to do now is have a realistic conversation about what the alternatives are, you know? Like, what do you do if the government is no longer representing you even though it's supposed to? As a former harm reduction worker and public health researcher, I support your message. Like, yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but I think that we need to wake more people up to this idea that, you know, if you feel confused by the actions of the Democrats, it might be because, like, you know, this exact thing. Of course they can't pass a federal minimum wage increase. Of course they can't even entertain that discussion if all of their corporate buddies are going to be pissed off about the fact that they have to pay more now, you know? The fact that it's going to cut into their profit margin, which is always the case. It's cutting into the profit margin. Mersh says, get involved in local and state politics where you can make a difference. Also monitor school board meetings and beware of local hate churches, etc. Yeah, I will definitely second the whole monitor school board meetings thing, because with that, we actually had a ton of folks who work with these hate groups like Moms for Liberty trying to get into the school boards across the country, and a lot of them lost. Voting for what feels like the least violent option. Be aware of local politics, as you can make direct change faster there, and then that change can move up. Yeah. To the extent that you can, get involved even on the years where it's not a major election year. Pay attention to whether there's a vote happening in August as well as the one happening in November. Local stuff. And then also, yeah, be prepared to be talking about the possibilities of, like, okay, if this government seems mostly invested in perpetuating itself for the purposes of making as much money as possible, is that really reflective of our goals? And what do we do if it turns out that the way that this government is being run and the bureaucratic resistance to change that has been built into it, if that continues to result in human suffering and death, how long do we tolerate that before we demand that the government fundamentally change or dissolve itself? I think is ultimately what it comes down to. Like, at a certain point, we have to revoke the government's legitimacy and say, we are no longer acknowledging this. You know, we are going to, you know, reform things or start from scratch or whatever, but y'all don't have a job anymore. None of y'all have a job anymore. We're going to figure something else out. When I visited my best friend in Canada, I was shocked at how cheap the groceries were. They politically enacted grocery price controls. Dems could have done that. It's frustrating that they are our only choice because of this system in place. Why do you think it would result in a civil war if we say to the government, you are no longer effectively doing your job and you need to fix that? Like, do you think that the government would then violently suppress the people saying, hey, we need to reform this? Is that what you think? Because that means that's not a civil war, babe. That's just fascism. And if you think that that's what would happen if the people went to the government and said, you need to change how things are going, if that's what you think would happen, then we already live in a fascist nation. Don't we? Citizens for Liberty is based in my small town. Oh, that's fucking rough. That's how I feel being, like, anywhere near Kansas. Or not Kansas. Being anywhere near Topeka because of the Westboro Baptist Church. Like, I'm just like, I'm so embarrassed to be from anywhere near Topeka. Oh, just gonna throw my pencil on the floor. Pencil! Oh my goodness. State elections are important because the GOP want to use Article 5 of the Constitution to eliminate our current Constitution. I know that they've been trying to get the Constitutional Convention to go. But I don't know what Article 5 is. I would have to read into this more detailed. Blast Off It's Party Time. System of a Down. I haven't listened to that song in a long time. Oh my goodness. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. BYOB is a banger of a song. Yeah, I haven't listened to that one in forever. I can't remember the last time I intentionally listened to System of a Down, actually. It might have been like 10 years ago. But System of a Down is one of those that's, they're pretty political. A lot of their stuff. Anyhoozle. I feel like that was a good little conversation about the Democrats and how they're losing on purpose. So that was fun. They are explicitly leftist, which is funny because apparently the drummer is now a MAGA Trumper. Oh no! I hope they fire him! Oh, that's gotta be so difficult. One of my partners started singing System of a Down loudly the other night. I was confused in Gen Z. Oh no. Okay, so this, Mersh has sent an article about Article 5 convention. Under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, Congress is required to hold a constitutional convention if 2/3 of state legislatures, 34 states, call for one. Here's the catch. There are absolutely no rules for an Article 5 convention outlined in the Constitution, which means that the group of people convening to rewrite the Constitution could be totally unelected and unaccountable. Yeah, so there's apparently no provisions for what would happen. Like, who is writing the new rules to the Constitution? Those are potentially unelected people. Yeah, I think that that's the point of what Mersh is saying, that if we got a constitutional convention right now, they would literally just write a fascist constitution, you know? Like, there's no rules about what amendments they're allowed to write or not. That's kind of the point, I think. Right now, there are 4 major campaigns for an Article 5 convention: the Balanced Budget Amendment campaign, the Convention of States campaign, the Wolfpack campaign, and the Term Limits campaign. Each has different goals, but together they've convinced 28 states to call for a convention. They have just 6 states to go. That's a huge number of states already. So yeah, I'm not going to look into much more detail about that right now, but I know that they've been trying to make a constitutional convention happen for a while. Like, they've been talking about it for a year or two, actually. Guys, in, like, February, it's going to be 2 years since I started streaming and doing that as my full-time thing. Wow. It's been 2 years. not gonna speak as to the quality of the 2 years that I have experienced since then, but, you know, it's certainly been 2 years. 2 brothers. On Tuesday, I'll be giving a presentation about trans issues to my German classmates, hoping to squeeze in a section about how bad the US is getting. Nice. I don't know if that... It's like, yeah, even most Americans don't know how bad things are regarding, you know, the Republican takeover and the, like, anti-trans stuff. If people in the US don't even know about the anti-trans issues happening here, then do people abroad know, you know? How are people going to put pressure on us to, like, stop doing that shit if they don't even know about it? Not that anyone on the fucking planet has the power or inclination to pressure the United States to stop being so virulently transphobic, but you know what I mean? It's wishful thinking. Oh, gosh. Okay, guys. My voice is tired. It's been 4 hours. I'm not going to be able to flex for you today, and I am so sorry. I'm not showing off the tum either. Someone in the YouTube chat kept asking. Not going to happen. And yeah, people here don't know in Germany, and if they have heard it, is essentially like, oh, isn't Florida doing some don't say gay thing? Yeah, which in and of itself should be fairly alarming, you know what I mean? If they do pay attention, yes, I know many foreigners in the know about how bad it's getting, but as bad as it is here, there's still plenty of countries worse besides Germany, and Germany is honestly the only place that is good. Yeah, I mean, you have to lie in order to access hormones. Like, if you're non-binary, you can't access transition unless you lie, which is kind of a bummer, but, you know, at least it's not like there's boots on the street coming after trans people. It's like relatively relative. It's all relative. So anyhow, I am going to go eat some lunch because you all were telling me to. So listen, look at that. Aren't I so good? This is me being a bottom, I guess, as me going like, look at me. I'm the Tamagotchi. So you all have a good night. You all enjoy your week, and I will see you on Wednesday. And it will be almost solstice. Ooh, yeah, we can do a little solstice observance on Wednesday. Okay. Anyway, love you, babes. Bye.